Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing tonight? Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back. Even though you missed the best part, the live party, make sure you hit subscribe and be here every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and you will never, ever, ever miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Also, big thank you to the sponsor of the stream, mysixshirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. Looks like we got a new design here, and of course, the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at mysixshirt.com. All right. Welcome to the party. How is everybody doing? Very glad to see you. Sorry I'm late, Dan, but I am here now and glad you are as well. So, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do today, but I saw something last night that I was like, oh, this is too good. So this one, I'm warning you now. It's not going to be the spiciest episode. It's not going to be anything like that. It is super interesting, but it's not going to be all spicy like that. So if that's what you're looking for, this one may not be it. But Destiny, one of our favorites, Destiny was on Timcast IRL last night. And the showing that he had was surprisingly bad. And what I mean is that usually when we watch Destiny, we can see, I mean, you know, the fact that he's in his own house, just online, he usually is very arrogant, in a good way, I would say, but very strong-willed. And we did not see that version of Destiny here. And I was surprised because you see Destiny in lots of heated debates, heated situations, and I didn't think this one would trip him up. But we got a couple clips here. We're obviously not going to go through the whole thing, and if we have time, we can definitely check out the bonus members-only content that you can't see anywhere else. So let's dive right in. Welcome to the party. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please let me know.
From the Daily Mail.
Threats yet.
Yeah, okay. NYPD orders full mobilization plan. All uniformed officers are on standby as extra manpower is deployed to ring of steel around Manhattan's DA's office amid fears of violence after Trump's indictment. I really don't think there's that New York City is MAGA country enough to the point that they have to worry about a bunch of Trump supporters showing up to the Manhattan DA's office.
I'm just worried they're going to march them all down into the tunnels for drills next. And then we know what happens. You've seen The Dark Knight Rises?
Oh, that's right. And then they're going to release all the inmates from their jails.
True.
Oh man,
I've seen The Warriors. Yeah, jeez.
Well, I wonder what New York would be like if, like, I don't know, 8,000 people convicted felons were just released.
All those COVID patients are going to come crawling out of the old person's homes. Those power electric chairs.
They live underground.
All the jab people coming out finally. Oh no, what's been going on? I've been good for so long, but now the jab, it's turning me into a monster.
Yeah. So anyway, I find this funny because let me see if I have this this tweet somewhere. Where is this?
I think people are just like so paranoid. They just don't want to risk it. Right? Like January 6th was such a disaster. And it was a disaster at like,
Was it though?
like multiple levels of failing to be ready for what was going to happen. I think for New York, they're probably saying like better safe than sorry because oh my God, if something got repeated where they weren't ready, it's just going to look so bad on everybody involved. You know?
Sure, we have this video coming.
That was a good point. Starting off strong, but like I'm telling you guys,
coming out of Tennessee, where a bunch of leftists stormed the Capitol
have you guys
and
seen
fought
this
with
video?
police. They actually made their way into the chamber in what conservatives are calling an insurrection. So I mean,
and before he goes off, I don't know if you could see. I'm not gonna mess with the quality because we're gonna. But the original tweet said, "I delivered the." I can't even see it, but something about this was a peaceful protest. As she shows a video of people being very not peaceful.
and that's basically it. Look, they're fighting with cops and people are getting arrested.
Semantic obfuscation.
And it happened in Kentucky too. They but like this happens all the time. I mean, it's funny. There were numerous protests by the left where they actually were banging on the doors of the Supreme Court, or actually went inside to the congressional buildings and shut down legislative sessions, and they were never considered that big of a deal. And even right now, it's like the media is not covering this like it's that big of a deal to shut down your capital. State capitals, I guess, don't matter. I don't know what.
Speaking of not such a big deal, something that is a big deal. We got the Tate's free. I don't know. I haven't read much about it. I've been working all day, got home, was putting out a video, and that's why I'm late. So I haven't really read much about it. But I do think it's, I think I heard that they are under house arrest or something. I'm very interested to see how all of that plays out. But to be honest, it's kind of at this point, it's like the allure of the Tates, and I mean, it's kind of like they're probably going to get him on some fraud charge, and then that's going to be it. I doubt that it's gonna be super anticlimactic. So definitely, we're going to be paying attention to it. But I think the story is what it is. You know what I mean? Play.
Well, it matters, but just how much does it matter?
I mean, the media is covering it, right? That was a video by the media, right?
Yeah, someone posted it. Was Kelsey Gibbs? Yeah, Kelsey Gibbs posted it and then deleted it. Greg Price got a copy of it and reposted it, and then maybe she reposted it again.
Keep in mind how he's saying the media covered it when it was a tweet. Just keep that in mind. The media covered it.
It looked like it really wasn't super violent. I don't think anyone got hurt. I can't
typically
tell.
What we mean when we say like the news doesn't cover it is that, like, sure, local outlets may run the story, but is it getting headline attention? Is it getting primetime attention? Is it?
It didn't shut down the authorization of the new president of the United States, which was what January 6th was. They were trying to like slow or stop the counting of the votes to get Biden elected or something like that.
Just trying to get their voices heard. And some people definitely took that way too far. We got Dr. Evil Genius in the building. Welcome to the party. Another fantastic YouTuber says not a fan of Trump. Shouldn't be locked up for some prawn payment. I mean, I definitely agree with that. Weird world we are living in. Cannot disagree with that. I mean, it's just silly because when you talk about this money wasn't under campaign money. Like, paying off a hooker is not a campaign strategy. If you're just saying that, like, well, by him doing that, it makes him look better. Therefore, well, then what doesn't fall under campaign finances? Anything. You could just be like, well, I need to, live in the nicest community. I need to have a mansion in Martha's Vineyard in order to get elected. So that's just campaign finance. That's what you're donating to. Like, people would not be okay with that. So definitely agree with you. Welcome to the party. Hope you enjoy it.
So it was like a federal election. That was what made that one such a big deal. Plus, it was high profile.
Yeah, it was kind of goaded on by our president. I think it was a big deal too.
He did say Donald Trump was involved in setting it up directly. Not the violence,
he said
but
peacefully march to listen to politicians.
Yeah, just getting the people in the vicinity. He was part of that.
How many people do you think don't even know that the speech that Trump made right before the insurrection, he specifically said peacefully and patriotically? I know you guys know that. I'm wondering how many people just in general, what is going on? I'm wondering how many people in general actually know that that's what he said. Just curious.
He said for months that they were going to steal our election from us and we need to fight like hell to keep it. I think it was more that than the march peacefully thing, but.
Well, yeah, but they didn't they, by changing the rules? And I guess that's not stealing if you're playing by the rules, but they definitely changed how elections work in this country drastically.
Well, he said march peacefully, and there was a permitted rally at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How can you go? Okay, we're backing up a little bit.
Yeah.
Here comes the liberal cope. You guys know I am a huge fan of Destiny. I love how honest he is. I love how analytical he is, how logical he is. But the fact of the matter is, he is in an echo chamber. And the reason that it seems like he is, big boss debater, bro, seems to me, after watching this, is that it's just a matter of everybody else who is in that echo chamber is just lower than Destiny. That doesn't mean Destiny is some amazing person. And again, I am a fan of him. I do think he is very good at what he does. But you'll see what I mean as we watch more. He just doesn't have the same showing here. And it's not just about the thing I said about him being behind his computer, because we've seen him in live debates and stuff like that. Also, Let's get moving.
Yeah.
How can you take the one thing that Biden said on stage one time as definitive proof that he was actually trying to withhold aid, but the
He
numerous
literally
statements,
said he did.
and Trump literally said that we need
Trump
to fight
did
like
not
hell.
say-
Okay, but literally saying fight like hell is not saying the same thing as literally saying if you don't give him the $1 billion, we're going to fire him. This is liberal cope.
Storm the
expression.
Capitol.
He didn't say storm the Capitol in those exact words.
And
Okay, but Biden did say in those exact words, if I don't get the million or if you know, whatever the $1 billion, he's out of here.
Biden
But he
said
said
in
we
the
need to
exact
fight
words he
like
committed-
hell. He said we need to fight like, what does fight mean?
I'm going to let Tim handle that. But we got no freedoms in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Says if Trump broke the law, then lock him up. But damn, this... I'm going to agree with the first part. The problem is, this is a precedent. It's a precedent set by a president. You know what I mean? But every president that we have has committed crimes. Every single one. So if that's the precedent that we're setting, are we going to arrest every living president? And if we're going to set that precedent, which I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to, is tax evasion or financial effery, is that really how we want to start that off? Or maybe should we go down for should they go down for war crimes? Should they go down for in other countries?
If
Does
Joe
it mean
Biden said,
be obese and stand at the Capitol?
yeah, it's not an argument. If Joe Biden said on stage, could you imagine if I told this guy I did this and everyone went, oh. No, he literally said he did a thing. And we're like, hey, if he said he did that, we should investigate.
Yup.
Trump said fight. And then later, now go march peacefully. It's like, well, those are metaphors. The left says fight all the time. We don't mean physically. We mean spiritually. We mean
Sure, but
politically.
it's followed, or that was followed up
Obviously.
by months of saying that, like, they're going to steal the election from you. You have to fight to save your country. Like, you don't think that type of rhetoric can directly lead
He literally just said no. Asked and answered. What's going on, Morty? No super chats yet.
to people saying, like,
so
our
are-
election is being stolen, like Trump said it was being stolen, and we
Would-
need to fight, like, go to the Capitol and fight to save our country?
In that line, do you blame trans activists for calling for fighting when this person went and shot up a church or a grade school?
For the trans shooter?
Yeah. I mean, they've been saying it's genocide nonstop over and over again, and they've been saying get up weapons and you have to fight. It's a
Yeah, but I don't know why. I don't know why.
Oh, it's not the same. It's different because that's just, it's whatever. Yeah, Dr. Legina says, look at what OJ did and look at what he went down for. I do agree that if we are looking to take down people that we know have done wrong things, like with Al Capone, they got him on tax evasion. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. When it comes to NFL players murdering people, get them on whatever you got to get them on. I'm just saying, let's take a breath before we start the precedent that presidents can be arrested based on barely more than misdemeanor crimes. There is a felony attached to it, but I hear you. But that is going to change so much, and I just don't think that this is worth it. How then can you not arrest Obama? How then can you not arrest Bush? How then can you not arrest any of these people? Nixon didn't get arrested. He got pardoned. That is just, in the same people who are saying, oh, we want a peaceful transfer of power are now saying, arrest him. What? It's just not the same thing. Hey, we got Kelly Green in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Awesome rapper on tour with Afro Man right now, which is baller. Please go check him out. Welcome to the party, brother. Glad to see ya.
That shooter did the shooting. Do you?
So the police said there's a
I get mine,
manifesto,
guys.
and that
They did say
the
that.
working theory is it's related to the identity of the shooter.
Okay, you
The
said
gender
two.
identity.
Wait. You said two totally different things. Are the police saying that it was?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I read.
Why don't you know this, Destiny? Why don't you know this? Why do I know this, but you don't know this? You are the biggest voice in left-wing politics, period. And you don't know what the police are saying about a trans shooter? How is that possible? Did you not know you were going to be on the show? Did you not think that the people on the show were going to bring it up?
I want to be very specific.
Yeah. I'd be curious because I read 4 different articles. I was trying to find out
If you're curious, then look it up.
was anything from this manifesto released. I know the media is saying they should release it.
They will
My
release
understanding is
it.
the police has not commented on the material
They did.
in the manifesto yet. What?
Yes, they did. And I agree, Dr. Virginius, there is way too much going on to have an exact narrative. But to be going the other direction, saying, well, it couldn't have been this, that, and that, because then it would have been this. You're right. We don't know. What the police said was that they have a manifesto. They were asked if their identity was behind this. And the cop said, we have a theory that is the case. That's not the exact word, but we have a working theory. That doesn't mean, yes, it's because they were trans. That doesn't mean, no, trans had nothing to do with it. What it means is that we don't know yet, but there is reason to believe. And then, if you think about why they're not just releasing the manifesto, makes you wonder. Hey, we got Radioactive Living. Welcome to the party. Glad to see you. Said Chosen Ignorance. Could not agree with you more. And the sad thing is that he can get away with it because of the echo chamber. He doesn't need to know the details. He can just talk out his ass. And I know that he doesn't do that very often, but he can. He can when it comes to stuff like this and he doesn't know any better. He can just talk out his ass because nobody's going to check him on it.
What did they say about him specifically?
It was the police chief, I guess. He was asked specifically, did the gender identity of the shooter play a role? And he says, the theory is that is the case. We're investigating, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, already a sponsor of the stream. Dan Jensen said, yes, we must not forget Morty. If you don't know, every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty here. Say thank you to Dan once again. Dan is the man. Thank you so much, Dan. Let's get you in the banner here real quick. No Freedoms with a great point. Said if it wasn't a trans person, it would have been another white person. Well, those are not mutually exclusive. It was another white person. But if that was, I think what you're saying is if it wasn't trans, then it would have been very easy to be like, oh, white people this, white men that, white da, 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 da. But of course, the narrative machine has got to do its thing. Yes, treats for Morty. Thank you again, Dan. Very, very, very much appreciated.
I heard that.
That's actually what he said.
Okay, I don't know what that means. Because it could mean what you're saying. So let's say that in the manifesto, they're saying things like, I've been watching a whole bunch of YouTube commentators like Vosh saying that there is a trans genocide and I need to go and take action to prevent that. Then I would say that's horrible. And people that are saying it, actually, even if they didn't say that, the people that are saying there's a trans genocide that we need to fight should be held accountable. I think that's a bad thing. If you believe in stochastic terrorism, I think that's definitely that.
But, there's the buzzword, stochastic terrorism. I don't even really know what that means. It basically is supposed to mean saying things that can, basically the argument that he's making, like, well, you said fight like hell for months. And so that's not actually directly telling people, but people could interpret that anyway and then do violence. And therefore, you're a stochastic terrorist. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I don't have to respect. Shit. Dr. Williams said this trans person was a white person, unless they were transracial. I'm keeping my hands off of that one. I am keeping my hands off of that one.
If it's something like where the person is like, oh, like I'm trans and people in my life don't accept me, I'm going to go shoot up a school. I think that's meaningfully different than inspired by rhetoric from people calling for violence, right?
So when we see these protests from far leftists, like at the Capitol, like in Kentucky and Tennessee,
and I mean, they're going to bring it up, but the Trans Day of Vengeance, how is that not more what you're saying, than fight like hell? I mean, come on. A sarcastic terrorist. That sounds interesting. Oh, good one. Kelly Green says, anyone notice the irony in Dan using Dan-ish dollars? There you go. I gotta just make sure No Freedoms is not saying something. Yes, while white people keep saying they are natives when they are not. Okay, I'll let you guys break that.
Do you think the storming of those capitals is the fault of people like Vosh saying you got to take? I don't know if Vosh ever said that.
My understanding is the storming of those capitals was for gun reform.
Kentucky.
Oh, that's better. That makes it okay then.
was trans rights. They were holding up trans rights signs.
Was it trans rights? Oh, I thought that was. I
One
thought they
guy
were doing
was
it in
dressed in the
response to
flag.
the shooting.
Sure, but no. Kentucky was that they're banning. I think it was Kentucky, right? That they're banning.
It might have been in
sex changes
Kentucky
kids.
for Tennessee. I think it was for firearms, right?
Tennessee was firearms, but it overlapped with that issue. It was primarily a firearms protest. So let's just say Kentucky, the storming of the Capitol there, where they were in the gallery and they're being arrested and they're holding up trans signs. Do you think the suspense of that, the inhibition of that legislative session and the storming of that Capitol is the result, is the fault of leftist activists saying take up arms and go fight?
Sure. If somebody is storming buildings, I think they should be held legally accountable. They're trespassing. They absolutely should be. And I think that people that are using alarmist rhetoric to get people to go and fight, whether that's Donald Trump or whether that's far left people on YouTube, I think should also be.
No. Those who do violence should be held responsible for violence. Unless you are directly telling somebody to commit violence, then the person who commits the violence is where the responsibility, or with who the responsibility lies. I don't care. I'm not playing this game. That, well, you said a thing that this was a thing, but there was a thing, and then they thought it was a thing, and then they thought it was a thing, and therefore now you said something that is completely unrelated to this, and now somebody's dead, and it's your fault. What? That's not how this is going to work. Morty, please. Demanding. Radioactive Living says, I mean, I've heard Elizabeth Warren make that claim. Not sure if I've heard many white folks say it. Well, I mean, it depends on what you think of Rachel Dolezal. She definitely took transracial to the umpteenth degree, and I kind of gotta give her a little bit of respect for it, because she went all out. And it's not like she was, I mean, she definitely was enriching herself, but she seemingly was helping the Black community. So, I mean, definitely don't do that. But that could have gone way worse.
Or that's all the time. It's one of the things. Yeah, of course.
You got to be careful.
Well, hold on,
alarmist
because
rhetoric.
Hassan does it, but he says only in video games.
Well, unless it's an imminent call, like vague calls, like, "Hey, go do this thing." That's not illegal. That's protected First Amendment. But if you say on this day at this time, do this thing, then that's an imminent threat.
Rolling a 20 from Ian. I love Ian. And I love that everything he says is either super on point or just way out there. If you're not familiar with the 1 and the 20 thing, apparently they play Dungeons and Dragons, and you get like a 20-sided die, and like 1 obviously being the lowest and 20 being the highest, I guess. So they say he rolled a 20.
I understand that's illegal under the First
Sure.
Amendment.
The issue that I have is a general alarmist rhetoric.
This is a great point from Dr. Evil Genius, talking about Rachel Dolezal, saying she also took the discrimination that Black people face and didn't opt out of that part. That is a fantastic point. That's a fantastic point. I didn't even think of that. And that, that's where that respect lies. Well said.
There's a lot of people saying that there's a trans genocide incoming, so buy firearms. That feels a little bit like great replacement rhetoric, except on the left instead of the right to me, where people on the right sometimes will say things like, immigrants are invading, they're taking everything, you need to buy firearms to protect yourself from spooky immigrants that are replacing white people. That feels similar to people saying there's a trans genocide, buy firearms because Republicans are going to take your rights away.
And yes, this is at normal speed. What was I going to say? The fact is, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's saying, well, if it's on my side, well, there's reasons and there's nuance and but on your side, somebody said fight, therefore it's their fault.
That type of like, any type of rhetoric that is basically stating that like your life is on the line by a gun, in my opinion, is like very, very, very unhealthy for the state of the country.
Okay, so then is he now condemning the trans community for this whole genocide and vengeance using those words? Because that is precisely the semantic obfuscation that we talk about. I mean, that could not find a better example. And I mean, just based off the trans people not existing. Well, you exist, just not the way you think you do.
I agree. I don't like the metaphor "fight for your rights." It's been around my entire life. You got to fight for your rights. And in the United States,
the party. Come on, Ian. I was just giving you props.
Literally did 250 years ago.
Sure.
And throughout the ages, they have had to do that.
But
they have done it literally with weapons. And so the idea that we got into a fight yesterday. Oh, we mean you're arguing. That's
yes, Ian. Yes, we understand that that is what is meant because that is a commonly used definition of the word fight. The fact that you have to say, oh, you mean we are arguing, means that there is more than one definition. So, or at least more than one application. So this is the difference between semantic obfuscation and the fact that language just evolves. Language is supposed to evolve and take on new meanings organically. Not because, well, now we decided this word is racist. Now digital blackface is a thing.
What?
That is not how this is supposed to work. Yes, Dave Chappelle is a comedian. Kelly Green said, why do people have such a hard time understanding something that's more of a metaphor than in order to make the person look bad, take it out of context, fight for your rights or something? Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly said. Destiny trying to argue semantics here is pissing me off. Can the guy ever argue in good faith? And I would say absolutely yes. And that is why this is frustrating, because I know that he can have these conversations. I've seen them. I've watched them. I've been privy to them, and I've been a fan of how he's conducted himself. But now he's here. He's IRL, and he's with some people who actually know what they're talking about. Whether or not you agree with them, not doing so well.
It's not a real, like, what does fight even mean?
Yeah,
I hear Elizabeth Warren
no
say
semantics. Come on.
Well, I mean, that's what we're talking about. The word fighting.
No, absolutely.
That is a good point. That is a good point. They literally are talking about the semantics of the word fight. So on Ian's part, I mean, I agree with Dr. Evil about Destiny bringing it up. But if they are talking about semantics, then all right, I'll take that back. It's not a 20, but it's definitely not a 1 on Ian's part.
If you say go fight for your right, are you really encouraging violence?
Okay, fine. But like, typically, every political organization says fight for your rights, and they're not implying physical violence. They're implying a struggle against a political machine to encourage people to vote and to get in politicians and get policy in place.
So if someone's on a heavy dose of psychoactives and they hear that and they go fight physically, you got to put it on the person. You got to blame the person that fought, not the person that said go fight.
I think we have to have like a more holistic, intelligent view of this. What I would say is that you have to look at the totality of rhetoric, and you got to ask, where does it lead? If somebody is saying like, listen, lawmakers are coming for your rights, you guys need to fight for your rights, okay? Like, we got to do that. That's fine, whatever. But if somebody's saying like, you are being eliminated from this country, people are trying to genocide you, they're going to use whatever means possible to take you out, you need to get armed, you need to train, you need to be ready for when these people come to town. Like, that's like, okay, what the fuck?
Right, exactly. Yes.
Right.
All right. Okay. So it does seem like he is being consistent in the sense that he doesn't like what Trump, he doesn't like Trump's rhetoric, but at least he's being consistent in saying that, like, hey, the trans rhetoric is not great either.
You have to look at the totality of the rhetoric. It's not just like a one statement. It's like, how is it being presented?
What we are seeing with these posters like Trans Day of Vengeance, they had pictures of guns on it. It's being accompanied by posters that say, take up your arms, no one is coming to save you. And videos of these activists saying quite literally to beat people. Did you see that one? They got like a club made of a curtain rod and they're like, beat them, hurt them.
Although I'd say we have to be really careful about, because on how big some of these are. Like, some of these
I'm looking right now, and I gotta fact check him. I don't see any guns on. Okay, so hold on, I got 2 here for you. Give me 1 second. So the main picture that are image that they're talking about. This is what this was. This was supposed to be tomorrow, the Trans Day of Vengeance. Stop trans genocide. And he said there's guns. There may be other things. I don't see anything here. But then we also have this, which I don't know how directly associated with that. The Trans Vengeance Day of Vengeance or whatever it is. But they are both, in that same vein. We got Ezekiel in the building. Welcome to the party. And I mean, definitely not surprising, but he also is. It's more than that in the sense that he is. He has an open marriage. So he has his wife, and it's open on both sides, and he's down to do the devil's three-way and all that kind of stuff. What are you gonna expect from lefties? It's but hey, if he's happy, and one thing I do appreciate about that, I do very much appreciate that he very often says, because, he's been talking to a lot of the red pill guys, over the past few months. And I think the way that he's been able, because you would think that having an open marriage, having other dudes dick down your wife on the regular would be something that red pill guys specifically, fresh and fit, that they would jump down his throat and be able to just, completely get him out of there. But again, he presented himself in a way that, like, look, this is what I do. If it's not for you, great. I don't think a lot of people could do this, but I can do this and it works for me, so on and so forth. And, if it works for him, yep, that is true. No freedoms. Yep. Yeah, he is down to get cooked. But I mean, again, if he is saying that, hey, don't necessarily try this. This is just my life. Fair enough. Great question. Great question. I don't have an answer. I have no idea.
Trans organizations that people are obsessing over, the Trans Day of Vengeance, and then there was another one like the Trans Resistance something network or whatever.
Trans Radical.
I meant obvious in the sense that he talks about it. But yeah, Ezekiel says it isn't obvious. I don't mean by looking at him. I'm saying that him openly talking about his marriage. So Ezekiel said, I know who he is. I don't like him, but him and his wife are open and he doesn't care. He goes and does stuff too, just not my type of guy. Fair enough. Dr. Virginia says, yeah, it works for him, but when the passport bros go do their thing, he has to insult them. Echo chamber. Now, to be fair, I have my own criticisms of the passport bro mentality, but not in not something that I would say Destiny has really the leg to stand on to insult them.
Full activist network.
So let's back this up a little.
For some of these trans organizations that people are obsessing over, the Trans Day of Vengeance, and then there was another one like the Trans Resistance something network or whatever.
Trans Radical Activist Network.
Yeah, like I don't even know if these things exist.
Well, clearly you didn't just say it, and then Tim knew what it was.
Like I see a lot of I know Fox News.
I think it had a few thousand followers.
Yeah, it had well on Twitter like that.
But they're the ones organizing the event in DC tomorrow.
Yeah, but I'm curious how many people are going to even show up to that, because I looked at that page and it's like a WordPress page with like 2 links.
But that's what it always is.
And
notice how he shifted. Well, I wonder how many people are even going to show up to that. Your argument before was about the rhetoric. Your argument before was about just putting these words out there creates stochastic terrorism, creates people who are creates violence. But now it's like, well, it's just a website. Be consistent. The
Twitter page has like 300 followers,
and you'll
with no names attached.
You'll get a few hundred people to show up.
I bet it's a Russian up.
Oh yeah, Russia. I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised if it was Russia or China or both.
Oh wait, did they cancel it? Oh, apparently they canceled the April 1st thing.
April Fool's.
Breaking news brought to you on the TimCast podcast.
What was the April 1st thing?
Trans Day of Vengeance.
Oh, they canceled it.
What a horrible name.
I know.
Where did you get that from? Where was that news?
So Radioactive Living is asking about passport bros. So Dr. Virginius, please correct me if I am wrong, because I think you know a little bit more about this than I do. But it's basically just the notion of men deciding that women in America or Western women in general are not up to par, or the level that the man is at, they can't compete in the Western dating market. So they'll go to other countries where whether it be women are typically more traditional, or their money will take them further, or whatever reason. And they get a lot of hate. I don't necessarily, I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I don't necessarily think it's the best way to live your life. But if you, I don't think there's anything there to openly criticize just because you are a passport bro. But that's all that means is, looking to date outside of either America specifically or Western culture. Yeah. Andrew Tate is free.
Well, that's good. They did the right thing. I think that was definitely being construed as a violent call. So I think that was the right move.
The organization says this action is not happening due to credible threat to life and safety. Oh, wow.
I think
Really? You're telling me a day of vengeance might have a credible threat to life and safety? What? No way.
I think fight for your rights. Okay, vengeance starts to get a little bit weird though.
Yes. Revenge. Also,
Bad
the word
optics.
revenge is. I don't like the word revenge.
Yeah.
Because can you have peaceful revenge? I guess you can. Watching someone fail is like a form of revenge. If
Yep, we just watched you fail, bro.
you're like me not doing anything.
I would say that's an unconventional use of the word.
Yeah,
Probably not good.
Vengeance. That implies past wrongdoing. I do think it's absolutely insane that after what happened on Monday, the media's response to this was very, very much like, oh, the poor trans community, whereas they typically don't do that for any other mass shooting. They don't.
Well,
they don't
because
lament
what are the other mass
ideology.
shootings? Usually like white dudes. Like
Yeah, but when you
they're like poor white people.
But no, I mean like even the other trans shooters, right? With like Aberdeen, Colorado Springs, Denver, they didn't come out and say the same thing. It's like this one they did. Which is
yeah,
like
but
I
think for this one, there's a pretty big deal about it being a trans person, which I don't think it was necessarily made as big a deal for the past one. So, and then I think that the temperature is up really high right now.
Why do you think that is, bro? We are seeing a rise in this type of ideology. So if that ideology was part of the manifesto and was why this person did what they did, then it makes a lot of sense to be like, hey, whoa, what's going on here? We need to take a look at this. I mean, it's just weird how quick, especially because she was white. It's weird how quick a lot of people on the left, or a lot of people who are, let's just say, more sensitive to the trans movement. Let's put it that way, because it's certainly not the majority of people on the left at all. But there's such a big jump to defend this person and treat them like they are the victim. You killed 3 children and 3 adults. You killed 6 people, innocent people. You get no sympathy from me. I don't give a flying fuck what your pronouns are.
Because apparently Republicans have nothing else to talk about but trans people. So we're like all focused and fixated on trans people right now. So when a shooting happens with a trans
I don't think it's Republicans. I think it's both Republicans and Democrats.
Republicans are obsessed with trans people right now.
Why? Why are Republicans obsessed with trans people right now? Could it be that it's because you're trying to sterilize our children? I don't know. Maybe.
But Democrats are, putting books like genderqueer in schools, or I should say schools are putting those in place. Loudoun County, we saw a Republican get elected in Virginia primarily because of what happened in Loudoun County, which is literally 2 seconds. You get in the car, you drive 20 seconds, you're in Loudoun.
I watched the Pearly reaction. Are you talking about a different one? Speaking of which, I just heard that shout out to Captain Paul that they are canceling Pride Night in the NHL, which he was very, very outspoken against. And after, what was his name? The Ivan Provorov, was that his name? The first guy, and then a bunch of other NHL players was like, yo, we're not doing this. And so they just canceled it. Almost like when people watch sports, they just want to watch sports and not be lectured.
And it's because these schools, they had sexual assaults. They had these books depicting graphic things for kids. And then when parents wanted something done about it, Democrats called them bigots and ignored the problem. So they turned to Republicans. Republicans embraced it.
I saw that
isn't
one.
this like what our school boards are for? Like,
it's
don't you
still
go
on
to
the
school
list.
meetings, you say, we don't want this here, and then you talk to the superintendent.
Have you watched those meetings?
Some of them?
No. When the parents go and present the books, they get kicked out, or it's
And called terrorist. They go to these meetings and they are reading the book that is in their child's school, or in not as frequently, but has happened in the curriculum. Again, we can go down the list. All of these are children's books that have been found in schools. Genderqueer, Just the Tip, D's Big Nuts, Nick and Andrew, The Bluest Eye. These are all books that are sexually explicit. And I think they might actually talk a little bit about it. Maybe they clipped it out of the, we're just going through the clips. We're not going through the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, bitch, I don't give I don't care. You have lost the right to, you've lost the right for me to care about that. These big nuts. D-E-E, like D, I think it's a squirrel. Her name is D, D-E-E. So D-E apostrophe S, big nuts. These big nuts. It is a children's book. Look it up. The next time somebody tells you, oh, that's not happening, be like, check this out.
Silenced and told they can't speak about it.
For really? For
Absolutely.
all of them?
Again, why, Destiny, do you not know this? Why are you not aware of such a huge occurrence, a phenomenon all around the country? This has gone viral. How is it that you are the largest liberal streamer, period, and you're not aware of these things? Like, oh, conservatives are obsessed with trans people. Again, why do you think that is? If you haven't looked into it, it makes sense. Why you'd be like, well, why do they care? But if you do a little bit of research, you may not agree. You don't have to agree, but at least you'll understand.
No, I didn't say all of them.
Well, because I can imagine it happening at like one or two
when
meetings.
Matt
But here's my
Walsh
issue:
wanted to speak.
You don't have to imagine it. You can look at it.
All of them.
Well, because I can imagine it happening at like one or two
when
meetings.
Matt
But here's my
Walsh
issue:
wanted to speak in Loudoun County, they changed the rules so that he wasn't allowed to. So he had to rent a basement apartment to be able to speak.
Was Matt Walsh a resident of that county?
No, and you didn't need to be. Anyone was allowed to speak at these meetings about issues. So when they found out a prominent conservative was coming, they changed the rule to bar him from coming. So he had to become a resident. That was not a rule normally.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching this clip from the.
So that was a big thing where let's just do this, where there was I think was it Loudoun County or whatever county, they just said that there was no rule that you had to be a resident in order to talk at their town meetings, because a lot of times it would be something like, let's say somebody from the next township over, even though they're not who is this? Keep calling me. Even though they're not in that township, what happens in that township will affect their life because they live there. So there was no rule. Then they heard that somebody was coming that might have some real shit to say. So just like the election, they changed the rules to suit themselves. Now, it's fine to change the rules, but let's just be honest and call a spade a spade. You changed the rules because you didn't want that clip of Matt actually saying what he had to say. Sucks for you because he still ended up getting to speak.
From the Tampa Bay Times, DeSantis says Florida will not assist in possible Trump extradition after indictment. The Florida governor weighed in on Twitter. He said the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political.
Oh, wait, what? That's what. Wait, what? I'm so confused. What just happened? Okay, take two.
From timcast.com, quote, political persecution, election interference at the highest level in history. Trump responds to indictment, will reportedly surrender early next week. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The statement from Trump, let's pull it up. Let's read it. Here we go. If I can, text is kind of small.
Hit that poll, guys.
He writes,
Hit that
this is
poll.
political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. From the time I came down
the golden escalator. Come on. Struggle streaming.
Golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of hardworking men and women of this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. You remember it just like I do. Russia, 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 the Mueller hoax, Ukraine, 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 impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, the illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid, and now this.
When you list them all down like that, I get back to stop making me defend Trump. Stop making me defend Trump. I don't really like the guy. I don't hate the guy anymore. But I would like for him to be just kind of gone out of our, political sphere. But who else who else can do what he can do? I hate that I feel that way. But I do.
The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign, but weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president has never happened before ever. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace. Rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it. So our movement and our party, united and strong, will first defeat Alvin Bragg, and then we will defeat Joe Biden. And we are going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again.
So here's the thing, is I'm very glad that even Trump is saying, far left extremists. It is not the average liberal person that I am worried about. I am worried in the sense that people who don't really pay attention, the default is a liberal bias. But it's not, just somebody who is not really paying attention. It's somebody who either is specifically putting out propaganda, rhetoric, whatever, and then to a lesser degree, the people who are then repeating that rhetoric, repeating those talking points without actually knowing what they're talking about. There's plenty of reasons to hate Trump. It is not hard to find legitimate reasons to hate Trump, to find legitimate things that he's done wrong, to find legitimate crimes that he has committed. That's just not different than any other president. I haven't heard anything I haven't heard any response to that. That we treat him as so different. Like, do you trust Obama? Would you trust Obama to watch your kids or your nephew or whatever? Would you trust Bush to watch your kids? These are not like your friends. These are people we are employing to lead the country and kind of the world. So maybe a nice guy isn't necessarily what we want. We want an honest guy, at least being honest with us. And I don't know anybody who's been more honest as a president. Not to say he hasn't lied a lot, but he's been more honest than any other president in my lifetime.
Well, very interesting. What do you think?
They better be doing.
Half the people left, I do not think people are liking that statement. I would trust Obama instead of Clinton. Definitely. If I had to. But neither of them would get anywhere near my children if I hadn't.
Doing a really good job at that office. I think there's a lot of political consideration that has to go into these charges because it's a really scary world when your criminal justice system is potentially interfering with an election, which is something that, despite what some Americans think, that
come on,
all of our intelligence agencies try really hard to avoid this exact scenario where you might be indicting or arresting or charging with crimes like somebody that could be running for president. So I hope that whatever they have, I hope when these indictments are unsealed, some really solid stuff, and it's not just a whole bunch of Lucy whatever that ends up falling apart.
What do you think about? He mentioned.
Right, hold on 1 second. I forgot to turn vidIQ off, so it's gonna be boom. Where are we? 2:30. Let's reload that one as well.
Arresting or charging with crimes like somebody that could be running for president. So I hope that whatever they have, I hope when these indictments are unsealed, some really solid stuff, right, and it's not just a whole bunch of Lucy whatever that ends up falling apart.
What do you think about? He mentions Ukraine. What do you remember the whole Ukraine gate fiasco impeachment? Donald Trump quid pro quo.
Yep, I do remember that. Yeah, what about it?
What are your thoughts?
Am I allowed to say the F word?
After 15 seconds, yeah.
Shut up, Ian. No, we want this. No, come on.
I mean, we try to keep it
in the
family
first 15
friendly.
seconds. Okay. They demonetize.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm okay with that impeachment. That's what you're asking.
you think Trump committed a crime with?
Absolutely.
You want to elaborate? I know it might be a bit. It's been a long time.
He did. He did.
It's been a while, but my understanding was that Trump contacted Ukraine, Zelensky, and he was asking if there was wrongdoing done by, I think it was by Biden in finding that prosecutor, and if they had any information about potential wrongdoings that Hunter Biden or Joe Biden had been involved in Ukraine. And in exchange for that, he wanted to withhold aid that was already congressionally approved to Ukraine for that.
So what's wrong with that? Like, why is that a problem?
Legally or morally, or
both, either, whatever you think.
I would say that obviously whatever the legal structure of that is, I'm not well versed on that, what Congress does with money. I'm not well versed on that, but I'm more concerned about the moral aspect, and that's what I'm saying is that these people, anybody who's going to be running for president, is not going to be a morally upstanding person. You don't get that far in politics if you are morally upstanding. It just doesn't happen. Hey, we got indie film in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome to the party. Said I watched a little bit of the episode, but had to turn it off. Destiny is either stupid or a liar, or at least not intellectually honest. He's definitely not stupid. He is a very smart person. I think he is just, I don't think it's any of, I mean, he's definitely intellectually dishonest in this particular showing. That's he finds himself up against the wall, and he's very good at he's very good at debate tactics, and he will use them to squirm out, whether he's conscious of it or not, because I can be the same way. And so I see a lot of myself in the way that Destiny carries himself. But he's like I was saying before, that most of the conversations that he has are in the context of him being at home in front of his computer with his chat, and it's just not the same kind of format as this. Furthermore, the people who he talks to about this stuff typically are not at the level of Tim. Love him or hate him, the guy knows what's going on and knows how to back up his narrative. Whether, even if you hate it, you have to agree with that. So that's exactly why I wanted to go over this, is because I was thinking that they were going to have a high level heated debate about real stuff, but they didn't get too deep into that stuff because of what any film is talking about. But there's still a lot of value here, and that's why I wanted to go over it with you guys.
Legally, I believe it's because I don't think the president has the authority to withhold that aid. I don't remember what the legal arguments for on that. For the moral part is our president probably shouldn't be asking other countries to investigate like wrongdoings of political opponents.
See that morally and generally I agree with that, but also all of them do it.
Really, but Joe Biden wasn't running for office at the time.
I mean, then why was he? Hold on, I'm trying to think of the timeline for this.
Yeah, Joe Biden. It was a year before he announced. That was part of the controversy, that Joe Biden had not announced he was running for office at all.
No, but hold on, he might not have announced it, but like I'm pretty sure most people knew he was running. Like in the early polls, like if you looked at Real Clear Progress, if you looked at a lot of the polling aggregate sites, like they were already polling Biden. He'd already been factored in quite a while.
Yeah, just like how the polling from the New York Times in 2016 on the night of the election said 98% chance that Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Kind of announced that he was going to run for office, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people were expecting it.
I mean that's just speculative media stuff. So Trump isn't actively investigating a political opponent, unless the argument is we all secretly knew that was going to be the case. They were like Bernie Sanders was still in the race. There were a bunch of other people at the time. The controversy was like, why Joe Biden? There were other Democrats that were actually talking about running, and it wasn't Joe Biden. He announced late.
He did announce late, but he was still factored into the polls really early because like a lot of people thought he was going to run.
Okay, but the point is that it's not about Trump trying to take out his political enemies if he wasn't running yet. The point is he's looking at impropriety in general. And again, I'm not saying anybody's hands are clean in any of this. That's not what the point here. We're taking these point by point and talking about the context that actually matters. That is missing.
The question is, though, do we want the president contacting other, even if he's not running, he is still a type of political opponent,
what if the vice president did the same thing? Is that
if the vice president was? I think that anytime you're reaching out, like, let's ask, if we pull back on a macro level, why is Trump asking this information? Does he genuinely think that there's been some grave wrongdoing done by the Bidens that needs to be corrected for?
Yeah.
Do you think there hasn't?
And if so, why isn't he asking our intelligence agencies for information about this? Why is he going to?
Because we don't, that's the whole thing, is not trusting the establishment, that these agencies would run cover for Biden over Trump. That is the whole point. I will say again, it is so obvious that people, generally speaking, on the left, think people on the right are evil because they don't know what, I say we, but as you guys know, I'm not doing that caveat anymore. They don't know what we think about things. Whereas on the left, we know that they are uninformed or misinformed or underinformed about these things because we pay attention to what they've said. Again, this isn't just some random Joe Schmo schmuck with blue hair. This is the biggest voice in alternative liberal media, or whatever you want to call it.
To another country and asking.
I mean, we have the Five Eyes Spy Club. We do that all the time. It's
where we don't do that all the time. Going to another leader and saying, "Hey, I need you to get dirt on a potential political opponent," because I think there's something.
Well, he wasn't a political opponent, and he
is a political. Even if he was the vice president of the former opposite party guy that he just as he came into office. What do you?
Hope. England says the president should be able to say, "Hey, what's going on with this whole, we're going to keep $1 billion loan guarantee from you if you don't fire this guy? Seems a little sus." Yeah.
I mean, he's some kind of political opponent, right? I mean, even if he wasn't directly running yet, like I would argue if he was asking to sue for like AOC, for instance, I would say that it's similar.
Trump didn't go to the president of Ukraine and say, "I got this political opponent I need dirt on." He said, "What's up with this video of Joe Biden threatening to withhold congressionally approved aid unless you take action on his behalf?" What? And the president of Ukraine was like, "I'm not sure." And he goes, "Well, can you look into that? I want to know what that's about."
It wasn't just, "Can you look into that?" It was, if you don't find what I need, I might withhold aid that's already been congressionally approved for you. And that was the issue. If he was just asking questions, we wouldn't be having the conversation. He would have been impeached, right?
So this is the point that I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. When this started and Donald Trump asked about this, specifically because there was a viral video of Joe Biden outright admitting to threatening to withhold congressionally approved aid unless a prosecutor got fired, you had Joe Biden breaking the law.
Sure. So there was a video of Joe Biden on stage making the claim/joke on stage where he's saying, "I told him if you don't do it, you're not going to."
Oh, it's a joke now. Oh, we're joking.
Blah, 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 blah. Joke. But in terms of him, but in terms of there actually being a serious offer on the table.
Did the prosecutor get fired? Doesn't sound like a joke.
Where he was threatening to withhold aid. I'm not even sure if that was ever the case.
You don't seem to be sure about much at all here, pal.
We have that one statement that he was made publicly. Number one,
signed a sworn affidavit that it's what happened.
Sure. Number one. Number two, the impetus for Shokin being removed from Ukraine was not to get some kind of political dirt on an opponent. It was a completely different scenario. This is a prosecutor that all of Europe and over half of Ukraine wanted fired, that the United States was acting on behalf of the Western world and trying to pressure this prosecutor out because of his lack of prosecuting corruption in the country. That's a totally different thing than I threatened to withhold aid from this guy because he's not giving me dirt on potential political opponents.
So why is it that the guy who was being investigated, Mykola Zlochevsky, returned to the country? He had fled when Shokin was investigating him. And then after Joe Biden got Shokin removed, Zlochevsky returned to the country to begin working on Burisma again.
Why did he return to the country?
Well,
it could have been for any number of reasons. I'm not sure.
Right. So the argument from the Democrats, the specific corruption that wasn't being prosecuted, you're referring to, is the prosecution of Mykola Zlochevsky, the founder of Burisma.
Okay.
And the argument they made was he wasn't investigating him. That was the problem. And then Joe Biden says, and we got him out, and then they put in someone solid. The only issue is when Shokin had about a dozen active investigations into Burisma and Zlochevsky fled the country. They froze his account. When Biden came in and got the prosecutor fired, Zlochevsky safely returned to Ukraine without fear of criminal prosecution. When Donald Trump made that phone call, Zlochevsky fled again. So it sounds more like, you've got Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma, you got a former CIA director on the board of Burisma, and Zlochevsky, the founder. And Shokin was had 12 different around 12 to 14.
All of the investigations into Burisma were dead.
No, they weren't. That's not true.
It was
wrong.
Absolutely true.
Completely
They
false.
were only revived 1 month before Shokin was forced out. Every single one of those probes was completely dead.
That's wrong. I mean,
you can Google it and look for it if you want.
Yeah. So I'm citing Matt Taibbi.
Oh God.
Right. And
oh God. Just, one of the most liberal and respected journalists. Like, oh God. Oh, you trust a journalist? I just listen to CNN.
If you don't want to trust a journalist or whatever,
or like any actual like article, not a tweet, like any
no. The Twitter files there was no opportunity to make an article. It was specifically outlined by Elon Musk that it had to be released on Twitter. The only difference between a series of tweets and an article is the website they're hosted on. We realize that a thread is just a bunch of words, much like an article is just a bunch of words. Hey, we got Harley Rose in the building. Welcome. Managing 2 streams. Do your thing, girl. Glad you are here. No apology necessary.
I'm talking about an article that he wrote breaking down what happened with Ukraine and his investigation into Zlochevsky, and this is from like 2018.
Okay, so your claim is that
so he wasn't Tim wasn't even talking about the Twitter files. He was talking about an actual real article.
The probes into Burisma never went cold and never died, that they were active the entire time?
They were active the entire time, right.
Okay. My understanding is that those probes were all cold and all dead, and it was part of the reason
hold on. You
why
said dead before, now you're saying cold.
It's the same thing. They were being actively worked on. So there were probes, but nobody was doing anything with them until it was 1 month before Shokin was actually ousted that there was some progress started to be made on those.
So that's a very difficult question to get into. The fact is there were active investigations.
Well, but that's kind of the meat of what we're talking about, right?
Well, so
it's kind of important to settle the fact of the matter on that. Yeah.
Were there 12 investigations? Yes or no?
I know that there were investigations open for a couple of years, but my understanding is they were open. It's not all that matters. They were dead investigations. There wasn't any progress being made on it. That's what I read that was reported.
Right. My point is this.
But that's pretty.
Hey, we got 2B Artistry in the building. Welcome. I'm sure you're talking to Harley, but hey, girl, hey. Also, another fantastic YouTuber just dropped her link in the chat. Please go check her out. She is a great artist, except when it comes to sketch heads. If you were in Discord, you would get that. Welcome, girl. Anyone says all of Europe wants this prosecutor fired is ridiculous. I don't see any evidence of any other countries saying we need to fire this guy. WTF would they care about some guy in Ukraine? I don't really know what this means. Can you reword this? I'm not really sure what you're saying.
Pretty important, because if they were being actively investigated, then that obviously changes a little bit the story that we're telling.
So
right?
Shout out to you guys for getting them likes. Much appreciated. Did
Shokin have investigations into Burisma and Zlochevsky? Yes, he had about a dozen.
But whether or not investigation is live or dead, isn't that important? You don't think so?
Did Zlochevsky flee the country while these were on the books? Yes, he did.
I'm not
when
sure.
Shokin was removed and the investigations were officially stricken, Zlochevsky returns.
So do you think that there are criminal wrongdoings that he's done that he's not being prosecuted for?
What I think is that the United States is in an energy crisis, in a war with Eastern powers. The United States has been trying to get a pipeline for natural gas called the Qatar-Turkey pipeline into Europe, but Syria said no. Syria destabilizes for whatever reason. We want to run that pipeline through Syria, through Turkey, into Europe to offset the Gazprom gas monopoly. Russia runs natural gas into Europe through Ukraine, through Gazprom. It's about 20%. It's massively powerful for them and it allows them to control prices. The United States has interests in setting up an energy company to offset that monopoly, hence Burisma. Hunter Biden's on the board, probably for these reasons. A former CIA director, probably for these reasons.
Wasn't Burisma one of the smaller gas companies in that country?
Why does that matter?
Absolutely. And it seems like the U.S. was trying to compete with Russia to get cheaper gas to Europe. And the argument made was that Europe was constrained by high gas prices from Russia and that we wanted the European economy to be bolstered and grow faster to compete with China. But Russia was basically keeping us pinned down.
Sure. This is nice conjecture, but is there anything backing up any of this aside from
This is all the official reporting.
What do you mean by official reporting?
So
This is the same kind of thing as when somebody has no idea what they're talking about. Like, do you have a source for that? Do you have a source for anything? Or are we just having a conversation here? Because it seems like you're just looking to play devil's advocate to defend your position by any means necessary. This is not good faith. This is not good faith. And again, I am a fan of Destiny. I have seen him argue in good faith. I have seen him be humbled and take the L as one should when you get beat in a debate. This ain't it.
There was official reporting that we got rid of Shokin because we wanted to bolster U.S. interests.
That's the only speculation I have. I'm saying based on the facts, it seems to me the issue was Shokin did have investigations into Burisma, which was a problem for U.S. interests, not because of corruption, but because it's more of a war front. It's more of a.
Do you think that Shokin was a corrupt prosecutor?
No.
Okay. Why did all of Europe and a lot of Ukraine hate him?
Because Europe wants cheap gas. Shokin was impeding that. It's not an issue of corruption. It's an issue of conflict.
Is this what you meant in the film?
Like he was impeding in
talking about?
So active investigations into Burisma are impeding U.S. interests in competing with Gazprom.
Burisma isn't even the largest gas player in that country, though.
That's not the point. We don't have the Qatar-Turkey pipeline into Ukraine because Syria blocked it. So you have a multi-front effort going back to, I think, like the 2000s to get cheaper natural gas into Europe. So of course they're not going to like anybody who's got Eastern allegiances. It's possible that with Ukraine, you had in the eastern part of the country more pro-Russia sentiment. With Yanukovych, you had more pro-Russia sentiment, and you had government officials that were like, look, we are not just pro-West. Of course, then he gets ousted. There's unrest. I can't remember.
What do you mean for Yanukovych, though? Yanukovych was standing alone with that pro-Russian status, though. That wasn't all the government officials. That was part of the reasons why people were so upset with Yanukovych, was because he was trying to push for Russia in opposition to what their parliament was even pushing.
That's what I'm saying. And so there's probably, he wasn't the only person. The sentiment was fairly split, but was leaning towards the EU.
Had been voted on by their parliament, like to favor the EU. That was what the vote was for.
And so the way I see it is there are probably elements of that government that were more favorable to Russia, which is why Europe doesn't like them. The people, Ukrainians who want to be a part of the EU and members of the EU who want Ukraine to join because they want more control over natural gas, of course, naturally would oppose anybody who is siding with Russia.
So that may not be listed in an article anywhere. But if you are paying attention and you can connect these dots, like I've said many times before, one of the reasons I do really like Tim is because he has the ability to take things that aren't, directly stated and connect dots and make predictions that actually come true. He doesn't have a crystal ball. He can't see into the future. But if consistently he's saying, this is happening and this is happening and this is happening, that might mean that X is going to happen. And then X happens. And then a week later, a month later, whatever, you say, I see this and that and that and that and that. I think A and B might happen. And then A happens. I mean, it doesn't need to be, this is, shout out to Anirudh. Shout out to Anirudh. That this is not not everything is going to be listed and directly documented in order for it to be reasonable. Now, could he be wrong about things that he is predicting? Could he be wrong about connecting dots? Sure. But to just act like, well, where's the study? Where's the article? Where's the this? Where's the that? If you don't have articles or sources or anything else in the contrary or to the contrary, then you just got to say, oh, okay, I guess I don't know much about this. I guess you know more about this than me. I guess I'll have to do more research. Hey, we got misanthropic ultras in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Glad to see ya.
Do you think that Ukraine was a corrupt country prior to 2014?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Do you think so? That's for all of Europe and for everybody complaining about the corruption and stuff relating to Shokin, you think that all of that was BS and they just didn't like him because he was preventing their cheap oil or cheap gas?
Say that one more time.
You think that all of the upsetness that people across Europe and Ukraine had with Shokin had nothing to do with any of the corruption of the country or his lack of pressuring? Because that's the...
He keeps using these catch-all, like all and every, and so all of the people in all of the country, they completely didn't want to have nothing, anything, like, bro, that's not what we're saying. That's not what is being said to you. You need to listen better and stop trying to win an argument and just have the conversation.
Official story that's given, it seems to be like pretty consistent throughout. Like
I can only speak on a surface level about this one particular issue because I don't know the inner workings of all of Ukrainian politics.
Okay.
It would be nice if Destiny could give some kind of caveat to his knowledge as well. Yeah. It took me a second, but good one. All catch-alls are always annoying all of the time. Harley says, learning to recognize patterns is nothing new. Most people are not taught this. So when someone predicts something, they think he has inside info or is a guru. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's nothing new. It's just about paying attention and understanding people's motivations. And so again, even if somebody didn't state, I am doing this because of that, that doesn't mean that you can't reasonably, not certainly, but reasonably accept that this is a strong possibility. I would say that, you definitely want to, yeah, nothing about certainty. But that's not what Tim is presenting. He's not saying, I know for certain. And then Destiny's like, well, you don't know that for certain. Like, yeah, bro. Didn't say I did. MA said, word on the grapevine is that even Destiny's fan club thought this was a poor showing. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I definitely wouldn't. I'm not in a fan club, but I am a fan of Destiny. I have no problem saying that. This ain't it, bro. This ain't it. And I don't know. I mean, this isn't the first time he's been on Timcast. So if it was, I would be willing to give him a little bit more leeway. But no, you got to be better than this. Because if it's not you, then who else are? Why? If this is the best that the left has to offer, then what are we doing? What are we doing?
Okay. But what I do know is there has been a tremendous effort by Western forces leading to outright physical military conflict to get natural gas into Europe to offset Russia's control of gas prices. Naturally, it seems like these things are related. Speculative. The facts are the U.S. went to Syria and said, can we build the Qatar-Turkey pipeline? Syria literally said to the United States, that would be bad for our ally, Russia, so we will not allow it. Fortunately for us, for whatever reason, Syria falls into civil war, and we just happen to oppose the guy who denied that. I don't think the whole reason for opposing it has to do with gas, but it's convenient for us nonetheless. We weren't able to do it. And to make it worse, Iran wanted to tap the same natural gas field and send the gas through Iraq and Turkey into Europe to strengthen Russia's control of energy. So the argument was the EU is trying to grow and become a unified bloc to compete with the growth of China. And Russia was basically impeding us because Russia wants to be their own big dog, right?
Sure.
So if they're both grifting, then why is it that not you can't, you coming after my boy? But if they're both grifting like that, then why is it that the one of them can't trounce the other one? Because as bad as Destiny is doing, it's not like Tim. Well, look at this one. Yeah, that's a good pause. It should be very easy for one of them to point out, or for both of them to point out how they're full of shit. They seem to just be having a not a good conversation, but that, you know what I mean? If one is just obviously, or if one is obviously grifting, then it should be very, very easy to point that out. If they're both grifting, we should be able to see them using their grifting tactics to take the other one down. But that's not what's happening.
Man, if you ever wanted to revisit a detailed breakdown of this, it'd be interesting to do a little bit of reading prior to this. But let's say hypothetically I grant you all of that. Why didn't Trump say any of that?
Trump doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Okay, so then Trump's investigation into the impetus for this whole conversation.
On the internet, bro.
Okay, so the impetus for this whole conversation of like Trump pressuring them to find out if any wrongdoings happened had nothing to do with anything that you just laid out. It was just having to do with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden.
It had to do with him seeing a video and then seeing people and post memes. Probably, to be completely honest, it was Tucker Carlson.
Sure.
Who said something.
But it was a little bit more than just asking questions, because if he was just curious, I don't think that the question of aid being withheld would have ever been brought up in that conversation. So clearly,
you don't have to do anything, brother. If you would like to, you're more than welcome. And we do the panel discussions in Discord right after the show. Where is it? So definitely, if you want to talk to me about why anything, then come on and join. The link is in the description. If one of the mods could drop that link as well in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. And speaking of Discord, real quick, I want to let you guys know that we are doing an April contest. So it's an invite contest, a sharing contest, as well as a gaming contest. So we play a lot of little simple games within Discord. So if you join the Discord, which is free, you will get a certain number of points for inviting somebody to the server that sticks around till the end of the month. You will also you'll get points for sharing any of my videos. You'll get points for winning one of the party games. You'll get more points for beating me in chess. And whoever wins I'm still figuring out the prize, but definitely a free shirt and a shout out in every stream for the month of May. And I'm thinking of something else to add to it. I don't know yet, but go on Discord and let me know what you would want as a prize. And keep in mind, I am super broke, so I can't give anything huge, but a little PSA. MA just said, I just offer petty retorts as they say stupid stuff. Fair enough. I mean, fair enough. Harley says, of course they want to grow and be their own big dog. Of course the U.S. wants to impede that. It's all a power struggle. The question is that a good thing or is a bad thing or a good thing? I would say I wouldn't necessarily say that it's either good or bad. I would say that it is not great that it's happening, but the idea is that this is just the way people are. People, I forget who it was, but someone was saying, conquer or be conquered. So yes, we want civilization. We want flourishing societies. But with different ideologies, it's not necessarily a matter of a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if it's that simple. I definitely hear what you are saying, though. But you're correct that he's not making the argument that it is in fact a bad thing. And I guess to Misanthropic's point, Tim isn't making a point that it's a good thing. Hey, you're already in the Discord, so I'm gonna drop the rules by tonight. And as of tomorrow, the contest begins. So if you win, you got a shirt. Not to mention, you can also head to my6shirt.com and get your very own Indian Jesus merch, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff too. So you don't need me for that. Yes, I definitely need enough for Morty's treats. You guys know that is very, very, very important. And Harley Rose, no question, no comment, just pure love of the game, or maybe just love for the dog. Either way, greatly appreciated. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. It's coming. Say thank you to Harley. Thank you, Harley.
There was a little bit. You're saying that Biden wasn't seen as a political opponent at all, but if that was the case, I don't know why Trump would go so far to try to solicit information from the Ukrainian government such that he would withhold aid or threaten to withhold aid in exchange for some information about him. Seems like a random politician to target. Like, why would he be so dead set on getting information about Biden?
Hates the Democrats. They were calling him a Russian spy.
I think there's a little bit. I think it has to be a little bit more than that. Revenge to throw away to get impeached.
I mean, you can think that, but I'm not.
A little more than what? Did he not? Were they not saying that he's a Russian spy?
I don't even care all that much about the speculation as to why he did it. Right?
Sure.
If you want to argue,
well, I think that's probably one of the most important parts. That is the most important part, is why he did it.
But you have to make assumptions to get to that point.
If he's asking for dirt specifically with respect to a political opponent, I'm making assumptions. I feel like there's a lot more assumptions being made on your end that he was just genuinely interested in what Joe Biden had said and was threatening to withhold aid because he wanted a legitimate investigation of the firing of a prosecutor.
I mean,
I feel like it's pretty legitimate.
What we know is that he said, "What's going on with this video? I want to see some action on this, or else." Right?
I feel like there was a little bit more said than that, but I don't remember because it's been a long time.
Well, I'll try to paraphrase for the sake of
Sure, but I feel like the specific requests that he was making for information are probably pretty important. I could look up exactly what the charges are alleged, but it's been a while. But
so I guess the reason I bring it up is not to just debate Trump or whatever, but to ask the question of, should we indict Joe Biden for doing the same thing?
I don't believe Joe Biden did the same thing, though. The request and who it was on behalf of was far different than.
But Joe Biden does not have the authority to threaten to withhold congressional.
I don't know if Joe
aid.
Biden actually threatened to withhold aid,
But he admitted on camera that he did.
He said something on camera that I don't know. Literally, if that's
it was a joke. It was just a joke.
He said on camera, "I told him that if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting $1 billion." And he said, "You don't have the authority to do that." I said, "Call the president, ask him, see what he says." Well, son of a bitch. 6 hours later, he's fired.
Trump also said on camera that he could shoot somebody on 6th Street and not get arrested for it.
Yeah, before his presidency, he probably could have. Yeah, Miss Anthropic says Destiny's super snark doesn't faze Tim. Interesting. I mean, this certainly not the if you can focus on what people are talking about and their ideas, then they can get as snarky and heated and whatever. All you have to do is stay in the pocket. Focus on their ideas, attack their ideas and not them, and you win. If that's what we're doing, then you win. Yeah, Dan, it doesn't count when Biden do it. Oh man, it's just it's frustrating. I really thought that we would be able to get a better conversation, but I think it is again important that we figure out why, or at least I am with that. Oh, let me wait for that to pop up. But I think it's important to understand why this didn't work out the way it was. It's all well and good to be like, all right, I can't deal with this. Fair. But why? And if you can't answer that, then you're not going to be able to push through things that might be superficially annoying that actually do matter.
But that's different from admitting to committing crimes.
I don't know if Biden admitted to a crime there or if he was just talking shit. Biden also was in front of an audience saying that he had like 170 IQ and graduated from Harvard Law or something, right? He obviously didn't do that, right? I don't know when Biden is on stage and like, I told him I was going to withhold it. I don't know if he's just like, he got his big boy pants on and he's talking shit. If he actually did do that and he didn't have the authority to do it and it was on behalf of some selfish motive or whatever, then yeah, I think there should obviously be an investigation or something. But the fact that there's never been an official statement confirming that, there's never been any side from the Ukrainian officials confirming that, and maybe there should be everything relating to that. Yeah, but every time Republicans say there should be and they go and look, they find nothing. Okay. But whether it's Benghazi, whether it's Hillary's emails, whether it's all of the Hunter Biden stuff,
hey, that's what I need, brother. That's what I need. I need somebody who can keep up. I need somebody who can keep up and not get emotional and be, like I said, stay in the pocket and get heated and make it fun for everybody, for the two of us, for everybody watching, but not trying to just be superficially entertaining, but entertaining for the purpose of better understanding, whether it be ourselves, whether it be the topic, whether it be other people, whatever it is. Understanding. That is what it is all about.
Like, we know the Hillary's email stuff was there. Like that's not even.
We don't know if Hillary Clinton gave a command to delete stuff that shouldn't have been deleted.
Bro.
To impede an investigation. We don't know that.
You may not know that, but we all know that.
We never found information about it, which is what the charge would have been for.
Sure. We know that she had a server with 35,000 emails on it. We know that her staff smashed cameras. We know that one of her staffers, I guess, he went on Reddit and he said, "How can I purge emails with someone's name on it," or something like that.
Sure.
And like, I think, didn't he get charged or something?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I think it was granted immunity in exchange for information.
Yeah. That's crazy, right? I remember when that happened, like some dude on Reddit found the account and they were like, "I think this guy worked."
Sure, but the crime that we were looking for was whether or not Hillary Clinton ordered classified emails to be deleted. It doesn't seem like that was. We spent a whole lot of time talking about that.
Remember the Snopes thing where Trump said that she acid washed her server, and the Snopes fact check said false. She did not pour a corrosive acid on her computer. Miss Anthropic Altruist says, "I love it when Destiny holds water for corrupt politicians." Yeah.
And for all the complaining that we do about a judge indicting Trump or intelligence agencies interfering in elections, Comey coming out and making the statements that he did about Hillary Clinton were not only unprecedented, but also potentially election altering too. So, I mean,
do you think,
unlike arresting a former president for financial crimes, right? Or no, that's different because
think Barack Obama ordering a drone strike that killed an American citizen warrants an investigation of that?
there might have already been an investigation. I don't know what the vetting process inside of orders from the government.
Well, like whether there was or wasn't,
like
do you think there should have been?
Yeah, there probably always should be when there's collateral damage. Didn't it happen? Was it in Afghanistan or Pakistan? Wasn't there a hospital that we
no freedoms? Come on, brother. Come on, brother. Keep it kosher.
accidentally bombed like a year and a half ago, I think, where
Probably.
I think like 20 or 30 people died and it was all civilians.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, anytime something like that happens, there should obviously be some type of oversight.
Yeah.
But that's different between like, there needs to be a criminal charge for an intentionally destructive act done, right? Do you agree that there's a world of difference between Biden ordered an American citizen killed overseas versus American citizen dies as a result of collateral damage from a drone strike? Those.
Hey, we got FFF Mike in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Says Nick Fuentes describes Destiny as a liberal state apologist. Would you agree with this statement? A liberal state apologist. Yeah. I mean, I think I would have to hear what the context in which he is talking. I'm very hesitant to agree with anything Nick Fuentes, but I don't think that, as you're putting it, that is incorrect. Welcome to the party, brother. Glad you are here. Dr. Virginia said, should any man be above the law? Would you be arrested for financial crime if you committed? Why should anyone else be different? I agree with you. That is not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that, just go back to Nixon. It was good for the country. It was good for not inflaming division. For Ford to pardon him. Now, you may disagree with that. That's my position. And I think that since we know that they're all doing fuck shit, that if we try to clamp down on every little thing, which we should have the resources to be able to do, but we don't, number one, people are going to fall through the cracks and it's not going to be applied equally, just like the law is now. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm making excuses. I'm just saying if we are going to change that, that has been the norm, that, presidents are above the law. They are. They always have been. And I'm saying if we want to change that, this is not the way. All of this is going to do is backfire. It's going to rile up the base. And then, that's going to mess with the primaries and all of that. Like, I would be ecstatic if something would happen that would completely take Trump out of the race, so that I didn't have to struggle internally with whether I want to support him or whoever else. I would love that. But that's not how politics work. And so ideally, yes, no man should be above the law. But if we're starting to arrest presidents, then okay, let's just do it across the board then. All 4 or 5 of them that are alive belong in jail for the rest of their lives. And there's just too much. There's too much that I don't know to be able to say that the president shouldn't have any type of different immunities than the average citizen. I just don't know. And I think it's, again, arresting Trump has only inflamed the base, which is not good for anybody. Yes, all future trolls will now be referred to as Seabass. Harley said that is a problem with our media and government. They make claims or laws about things they have no knowledge or understanding of. Look at the recent TikTok questioning. It was indeed embarrassing. So if I connect to the Wi-Fi on my phone, can TikTok access my Wi-Fi?
What? Stupid.
MA says Destiny is a statist without a doubt. Fuentes would also be a statist if his weird ideas of nationalism were realized. Again, I'm not too familiar with Fuentes. I've really only seen him in the context of being on with Destiny, and then of course with Just Pearly Things. But sounds right. Sounds right.
Those two things are worlds.
So let's back up a little bit.
Act done, right? Do you agree that there's a world of difference between Biden ordered an American citizen killed overseas versus American citizen dies as a result of collateral damage from a drone strike?
Sure, they are different, but that's not what happened. Nobody is saying that he was like, all right, let's find this American, and nobody's saying that that's what happened. Obviously, if that did happen, that would be way, way worse than just being collateral damage. But the point is that it makes it's the responsibility of the commander-in-chief not to kill American citizens. Is that a crazy statement to make? Mike says, state apologist in that he rationalizes the actions of the government, and he doesn't think government corruption is possible with all the checks and balances they have in place. I'm going to disagree with that. I think that he has I absolutely agree that he rationalizes the actions of the government. But he talks about government corruption all the time. He just talks about it in the more leftist vein of like Republicans have too much money and this, that, and the other. So he's definitely not somebody who's going to say that politicians aren't corrupt. But he absolutely will apologize for the actions of the government. 100%. 100%.
Those two things are worlds apart, right?
Well, the added context is we're not at war with this country, and it
doesn't matter. There's still, even if we are at war with the country, there's still worlds apart, right?
Sure, they are worlds apart. You know what else is worlds apart? Lining up a bunch of puppies and chopping their heads off. But that's not what we're talking about, are we?
Well, so let's slow down for a second.
Sure. My question is very simply, if
the authority granted to the president does not extend to bombing any random country.
Well, it seems like that's not where we're at legally right now, right?
I think it's not where we're at because the American people don't do anything about it.
Did we vote in Congress to bomb the Syrian airport when Trump returned fire for whatever gas attacks?
No, but I think there's something different to an active war zone we do have troops on the ground in, and I don't agree with Trump
we're not
firing.
at war with Syria.
We have ground troops. We haven't declared a war since World War II.
See that semantic obfuscation? We're not technically in a war. That's not what Tim said. He said in a country where there is a war zone and we have boots on the ground.
Sure, but we didn't even have a extended use of for
I don't agree with Trump's firing.
Sure, I'm just saying that like if an American citizen even would have died on the base, I'm just saying that we're not voting for war in these areas, right? We're still bombing them. So it seems like if you're asking me a moral question versus a legal question, those are two different things. If you're asking me legally, it seems like that seems to be that the president can indeed order drone strikes on places that we're not at war with. That seems to be where we're at legally right now. Morally, should he be able to?
Well, no. Just because something is done doesn't mean that it's legal. Just because a president is bombing places that haven't been congressionally approved doesn't mean that it makes it legal. Your whole point is that with Trump is that he did a thing and now he needs to be arrested, indicted, and whatever. So why can't you apply that universally? Why is it only Trump? This is the point. Stop making me defend Trump. You're the one creating this scenario where all the presidents are so upstanding and they just want to help America and they just want to make sure everything is great. And then Trump, take two. And then Trump comes in and he's like, oh my God, I can't wait to bomb. Like, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. And that's how you're framing it. And you're not lying about anything directly. But this is what I mean when he's good at debate in the sense that he can squirm out of these positions that don't really hold water. Probably says the president can't just bomb whoever he wants. There's a line of people he has to go through and processes. And that he's supposed to. It seems like those processes and that line of people has been getting shorter. That's absolutely true. That's what he's talking about. But he said there's a difference between a moral question and a legal question. And just because something happens doesn't make it legal. Listen again.
And more on the base. Yeah, I'm just saying that we're not voting for war in these areas, right? We're still bombing them. So it seems like if you're asking me a moral question versus a legal question, those are two different things.
So those are two different things. So we're asking about the legality of what is happening.
If you're asking me legally, it seems like that seems to be that the president can indeed order drone strikes on places that we're not at war with. That seems to be where we're at legally right now.
No. Again, physically, he can do that. The same way you can physically break into somebody's home and steal their shit. That doesn't make it legal. And even if you were the president and you did it, it wouldn't make it legal.
Morally, should he be able to? I don't know. I don't know what the justification is for that.
Thanks for watching this clip from the...
All right, so we got one more clip, and then we're going to check out the members-only, uncensored segment that you cannot get anywhere else without me. Unless you pay, of course, but...
From the Tampa Bay Times, DeSantis says Florida will not assist in possible Trump extradition after indictment. The Florida governor weighed in on Twitter. He said, the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. It is un-American. The Soros-backed Manhattan DA has consistently bent the law to downgrade felonies and to excuse criminal misconduct. Yet now he is, and there's a second tweet here. Where is it at? Wait. Oh, okay. Yet now he is stretching the law to target a political opponent. Florida will not assist in an extradition request given the questionable circumstances at issue with the Soros-backed Manhattan prosecutor and his political agenda.
So this is interesting. I'm curious what you guys think in terms of DeSantis and his position of being able to assist in the indictment or assist in the extradition, as they say here. Because obviously, with Trump being, obviously he hasn't announced, but we all pretty much think that he's gonna run, and he's going to be. It's gonna be Trump and DeSantis. That's what it looks like as of right now. So, if there is a there, and he goes after Trump, that's taking out a political opponent with perfectly legally, morally, justifiably, all and everything in between. But if he goes after Trump and it doesn't work, or there's not enough there, well, then he's lost the entire MAGA base. So what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? Harley said, that's where it gets tricky. If we make the process longer, it could prevent random it could prevent random or impulsive actions. But what if we need quick or impulsive actions? So it's finding that balance. Very well said. Very well said. And the problem is we've seen, okay, if we need quick and impulsive action, they can shut down the world for 3 years. So maybe we need to work on balance in the other direction. But completely agreed, Harley. Completely agreed and well said. Dr. Virginia said, weak DeSantis position, in my opinion, turning to Soros-related conspiracy theories. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm very interested. Please let me know what you guys think about that, because I'm really curious on where people, especially people who are a little bit more politically involved, smarter, whatever word you want to use, than me. I'm interested to see why he would want to go this way or that way in really any position, but we're talking about this one.
What are your thoughts?
Is he actually Soros backed?
I think so.
Or was it that because I thought that the actual thing was like George Soros contributed to a PAC that has also contributed to him. I think it's a little different, but regardless.
Yeah, but even outside of that, I mean, Ron DeSantis saying we're not going to allow. What is he saying?
We're not going to extradite, right? Is what it sounds
like. Well, did he even really say that? He said, "Will not assist in the extradition." It's like a pretty tepid statement, to be completely honest.
And that's the other thing I'm thinking is that because if it's a tepid and vague statement, that maybe he's leaving the door open. That all right, let me see what's going on here, and then because I've said that I'm not going to help in the extradition, then there might be another part that I can help in. Versus, okay, well, I said I wasn't going to do this, so now that it looks like it wouldn't help me to do this, hey, I've already made the statement. FFF Mike says, I think it's more interesting that DeSantis previously said he had no interest in interfering with Trump's arrest and only did a 180 on it because of how unpopular it was. That is very interesting. That is very interesting because the allure of DeSantis was that finally we had a leader for the average conservative voter, conservative as of 2023. But if he's just another politician and he doesn't have the chutzpah that Trump has to kind of break through all that, then how is he any better than Biden or anybody else? Holly says, I don't agree with his reasoning, but I do agree with him not being forced to extradite someone in his state. Again, 100% agreed.
So I don't even know if there's an actual question to be asked. Should Florida assist in the extradition? Like, does it matter?
Well, it kind of matters. I think it would. I think it matters based on the precedent of the crime. If this is a crime that they wouldn't normally extradite for, then they probably don't have an obligation to, right? Like, I don't think California would extradite me if I had like an outstanding speeding ticket in Iowa, right?
Yeah, well,
this might be a similar thing where they don't extradite. But if there was like if somebody like did a double homicide and Florida's like, we're not going to extradite them, that'd probably be a pretty big deal. But yeah. I don't know for a crime like this if extradition is ordinary or not.
Donald Trump, what's the charge that he falsified a legal bill?
It's that he falsified a legal bill, but it has to be something more than that, right? Because that charge in and of itself is a misdemeanor that the statute of limitations would have expired on. So it's that he falsified that legal bill in the commission or the obscurement of another crime. I don't know what that other crime is, right?
I think it's related to election stuff. The argument was that it pertained to campaign finance, or they used campaign funds to do it or something like that. Yeah. Because Cohen billed Trump campaign or whatever, but
I hope he asked the lawyer question, because this is very important in how you feel about the whole Stormy Daniels situation and the arrest itself. So I'm gonna let this play a little bit, because I imagine that they would put this in the clip, but if not, somebody remind me about the lawyer fees. If I forget, lawyer fees.
I guess we'll see when the indictment comes out if they're stretching this up to a felony. My view is it's all overtly political, and this country is being ripped to shreds. So I don't know if it really matters whether DeSantis is going to do anything or not. It's whether we can have a debate about it or not, no one's going to agree. The end result is just going to be people on the right saying that Trump is being politically persecuted, and people on the left saying it's justice.
Well, it only matters for the primary, because DeSantis this whole time has been trying to position it.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. This guy was another guest. He said he was day one MAGA. So he wasn't talking a lot. So I thought he was maybe like a friend of Destiny, but he said he was day one MAGA. And he said literally 3 words, the camera shifted him literally 3 times for the entire mainstream as well as the member segment. So I mean, take that for what you will.
Himself as Trump without the bad stuff. That's sort of his whole brand.
Ooh, I like that. I'm going to run that back, because that is nail on the head, the appeal or the original appeal that DeSantis was to me, that he is, he has the balls to stand up to the establishment, but, not being the non-presidential.
People on the left
position himself as Trump matters for the primary, because DeSantis this whole time has been trying to position himself as Trump without the bad stuff. That's sort of his whole brand. But as you go into this more and more, you're going to see that DeSantis really isn't a Trump guy. He's going to try and make his own brand of sort of Trumpism, but with some other stuff.
And again, as somebody who doesn't really like Trump, that appeals to me. Trump was able to do a lot of things because of the way he was. I don't like that he had to be that way in order to get those things done, but he got them done. Excuse me. It says, regardless of the reason, this is an example of checks and balances. Federal government should not be allowed to impose actions on states. Otherwise, what would separate the state and federal? Harley's on point tonight. Harley is on point tonight.
And I think a lot of the hardcore Trump people like myself, I was a day one 2016 supporter, right? When he came down the golden escalators, I was already sold. But a lot of people that I know in DC or in sort of these other circles, they think, oh, well, we should move on from Trump. It's time for DeSantis to take over. But the reality is this whole thing is only going to help Trump. I think the mugshot, it's going to be on T-shirts. It's going to be art. Like, people are going to love it. On the left, they're loving it because they think, oh, we finally got him. We got the handcuffs on Donald Trump. On the right, they're just going to think he's a martyr.
Can I play this video from Dash Dabrowski?
Yeah.
Well, and again, what do you guys think about how that would play out when he has the perp walk, they have him in cuffs, and then he's not going to go to jail. Do you think he's going to go to jail? Then what? Then all of that is just fodder for the Trumpians to be like he said, that to treat him as a martyr. Just I don't get it. I don't get it. It seems like I haven't been into politics as long as a lot of the people who are big names and talking about this stuff. But it's like, are they really that good at this? Because kind of whatever. Mike says you can't really be an oppositional leader without the bad stuff. It's kind of the whole point of being one. Getting rid of the bad stuff makes someone more of controlled opposition to the system. Well said. I think the bad stuff thing is you don't really need to be the oppositional leader. I feel like the idea is that Trump already was that. He already, shook things up, and we now need somebody who's going to be more accepted by the middle and the left to take up the mantle and show that the policies that Trump had were widely accepted by a lot of people. And it was the rhetoric and the way he held him, portrayed himself, a lot of stuff like that, why a lot of people don't like him. So I don't necessarily think we need an oppositional leader. I just think we need somebody who is willing to stand up for what they believe in, fight for that, non-violently, Ian, fight for that, fight for us as the people, regardless of what side of the aisle you are on, and just do what needs to be done. Just do what needs to be done. I don't want to hear about the president every day. We only hear about the president when they're mucking things up. Can we go 1 week without hearing about what the president did for any other reason than Joe Biden has been asleep the whole time? Can we go back to that world? And I'm not saying, obviously, that he's not doing stuff, but like plastered a mainstream front page headline. I don't think that is good. I think it was necessary to a certain extent with Trump, but now that necessity has been fulfilled, I don't know. Thank you for stopping by, Zippy. See you in Discord. I think this is a dangerous time for our country. Understatement of the century. People care more about the president than the country. And cultish behavior is strange and terrifying. 100% agree. 100% agree. I don't think you've said anything I disagreed with so far.
Yeah. I think I got to turn it down.
Big news! Donald Trump has been indicted in Manhattan. The grand jury just voted to indict Donald Trump for his hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. This is big news!
Is it though?
I don't know if he realizes, like, if he's in control of his moves when he goes, what is he? Been indicted. He tilts his head forward and he gets shadow under his eyes and looks real villainous.
Shut up, Ian.
Just for a
What
second.
is it called? The Kubrick stare?
Comes back up. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm sorry. I think
Highly
this dude's
entertaining.
unwell.
Soy jacking.
It's an act. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I
he's been
think
doing
it's
this for
a-
money.
When it comes
Well-
to stuff like this, I think it's really important that you mentally swap the people out in your head to figure out how you feel about it, because we have a huge problem right now in this country with actually having principled positions on any fucking issue whatsoever. So I think that when people are trying to think like, should Trump get arrested for this? Like, think like, if it was Hillary Clinton, would you feel the same? If it was AOC, would you feel the same? If it was DeSantis, would you feel the same? I think it's really important to do these mental swaps to check for honesty, to make sure that it's not just, like you said, like all partisan politics at the end of the day.
I agree.
I mean, yeah, that's fair, but like, that's kind of day one basic political information. Like, don't be tribalistic. That's that's what you bring to the table. And again, I'm as a fan of Destiny, I'm saying I'm disappointed that this is all he has. This was I came into this thinking this was going to be, a huge event. Not a huge event, but you know what I mean. And don't be tribal.
Especially
But
when legal systems are involved.
I agree, but I don't think it's principles. I don't think anyone's principled at all.
Yeah,
True.
But I'm not.
I gotta disagree with that, Tim. A lot of people are principled. A lot of people are principled. They may not stand up for what they believe in, but they do have principles. Not everybody. A lot of people are without principles. Yeah, I agree with him as well. I just, it's, I mean, we've all been saying, let's not be tribalistic. Let's be, I mean, I 100% agree, but it's just, get me on Timcast. I'll say that shit. No blue hair for me. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. Oh, people definitely have principles. That's a stupid thing to say. I don't know what his point is, but if he's trying to say that people aren't standing up for their principles, that's a very different statement. But people absolutely are principled.
I'm not saying that.
I am too.
I'm not saying that from like a dejected, sense, or like a not like, I'm jaded and black belt. I'm saying it that people genuinely don't understand the moral philosophies around principles and their positions. So the example.
What? All right, let's hear the example.
I often give is when it came to Florida on the parental rights and education bill, you had conservatives being like, parents have the final say in whether or not their kids are being exposed to this stuff and whether or not their kids are going to get these treatments. The teachers have no right to withhold that information from the parents. And then my response is, in Washington, they completely agree that the parents have final say. So when the parent says the child should get sex change surgery, the government should not be allowed to intervene to stop it. You see the point? The principle is the same. Should parents have final say? But both conservatives and left liberals or whatever position have a differing view of when it should be allowed.
I don't think that is, I'm hesitant, to agree with you, but I think I do, Dr. Evil Genius, that I don't know. I really don't like that he said that. Like, what are you doing building this whole company and creating all of these different projects if you don't think that anybody's principled? I don't like that at all. I don't know. But when he brings it down to the example, I don't necessarily disagree with the example. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with the example. I just think that when it comes to the specific issues, and I think that the trans issue is specifically different than many others. So it's just I don't like the phrasing. Maybe it's just the phrasing that we're kind of all fighting for what we think, and it's not typical that we want something completely true across the board. We kind of just want it whatever's going to help us. I can see that, but again, we were talking about the catch-alls. What was Dr. Virginia's joke? I'm finding it because it was a good one. Come on. No, I can't find it. God damn it. Now I'm too far not to find it. We ain't getting there. Come on. Oh, okay. I can't find it. But yeah, these catch-alls. I don't know why he's so dead set on saying that and backing it up with a legitimate example that doesn't follow the claim that he made.
When it comes to a child deciding they are trans, the left passes laws saying they can withhold that from parents. When it comes to parents wanting to give their children sex change surgery, conservatives argue the state should intervene to stop that. So which is it, right?
Yeah, but that's not a lack of principles. That's just two sides of the issue. So at the end of the day, just because you think that the parents should have final say doesn't mean parents can do whatever they want. Like when it comes to, let's take it away from the trans issue, right? And let's say your kid wants to get a tattoo. 16 years old, as long as you are, I think it's 14 in some states, as long as you have a parent's signature, you can do that. That's a permanent change to your body. Now, does it mean that because there are, the parents should have the final say, that if, that will change depending on whether you like tattoos or not liking tattoos? I think he's cherry picking here. I don't like that.
People don't have principles, they have moral foundations, and they have lines that they're willing to cross or not cross.
Semantics.
And so both sides will argue my principle is X, but it does not apply. That's my point.
Sure.
So
I do better.
I don't. I mean, I don't think there's a do better or there's a bad. It's quite literally, if two factions of people have different moral standards, that's it.
Yeah, but I think the problem is not being honest.
Well, but it's that he's saying that having moral standards is a bad thing because reasons. I just don't accept the. I wish he would have used a different word because I agree with the sentiment. I just rubs me the wrong way.
Honest about those moral standards. Like, I think that's the issue, because when we argue for certain principles, I think everybody ends up, at the end of the day, we're all attacking like the shadows and the ghosts of the people that we're arguing against, because nobody actually believes in a lot of the things they're saying, and that hurts our ability to actually move the conversation forward.
Dr. Leave Genius is agreeing with Tim Pool, and I'm hating on him. What is going on? What is going on? What is happening?
Like, there's a lot of people, for instance, I think I even saw this on your Twitter. I don't remember the tweets. There's a lot of conservatives that fucking hated red flag laws. And now after this trans shooting, a whole bunch of conservatives are like, well, should mentally ill people have guns? I'm not actually sure. And it's like,
oh, I thought he was going to say, should we have red flag laws? So yes, trans people should have guns. Everybody should have guns. This was a crazy person. Beyond the, I mean, well, technically gender dysphoria is no longer technically a mental illness, but it's certainly not neurotypical, if we want to put it that way. But the framing of these conversations, I mean, come on.
Like, what changed?
And that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Is that the principles don't apply to most people, left or right.
Sure.
It's
but then there are.
But you said nobody. You said nobody. I think a lot of people don't have principles. Okay. Agreed. Just say nobody has principles? Nobody. That's the second Dr. Lugenius quote that I cannot find. There. Yeah. I don't like that. That tells me that he has a moral standard, but he wants to fight for what is, he will step over his own principles in order to get what he thinks is politically expedient. I mean, I haven't seen that openly, but there's a lot of things I disagree with him on, and maybe it has to do with him having that moral standard, but not wanting the principle to be applied when I feel like I try to do my best to be consistent. And I feel like a lot of you do too, and maybe nobody's perfect. Just a weird thing to say. Weird thing to say.
There are principles there. You just have to dig a little bit deeper. So, like, for some conservatives, principles like fuck trans people. I don't want them to have any rights. Rather than like I don't agree with like red flag laws. And we just have to get to like the deeper positions where they actually are, so we can fight against those positions.
See, my thing with red flag laws is I'm completely in favor of them so long as they have an adversarial due process. The problem with red flag laws, literally, is that they're not adversarial.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, like, I mean, if they're an adversarial process, then they're not really red flag laws, but okay. But he said it.
Like, someone can go to a judge, the judge can issue a writ and just come and take your guns. Mm-hmm. Whereas due process requires your rights to confront an accuser, to file a rebuttal, to say no, and then actually have a chance to have proper adjudication. So I used to not be in favor of it until it was actually conservatives who argued that through due process, your rights can be curtailed. Mm-hmm. Hence, like being put in prison. If you break the law and then a court gives you due process and says you broke the law, we can literally lock you in a box and take everything away from you. And I'm like, okay, fair point. In that case, if you're mentally ill and then someone files a claim saying you're a risk to yourself and a harm to yourself or others, then you should have the right to receive a notice in the mail, answer that claim, reject it, and then have a judge actually issue a standard due process.
I don't think that that's a horrible idea. I would need to hear a lot more about that process. A lot more about that process, because what are we determining as mentally ill, or what are the reasons that the government is determining that they can just step on your rights? If you're committing a crime, a felony, well, okay, now we're having a different conversation. But if you're just sitting in your home and somebody who doesn't like you knows that you have anxiety and that you take a Klonopin, then they could just call the cops and they'll come to your door and take away your guns?
What?
Nah.
If you're in prison, you can't have guns. You know what I mean? Like so if there is some standard by which we believe you are a threat and you are going to cause harm, then you have a right to challenge that in court, same as any other criminal charge you have. And then if you lose,
that pole, guys.
Sure. And I think that is a defensible. That argument is defensible, but it's not defensible if it only comes up when a trans person goes on a shooting spree. That's the
I
only
completely
issue
agree.
there, right? And it seems like there's a lot of arguments against red flag laws that are still standing. Like those arguments didn't go away. Like I'm probably against red flag laws. I lean slightly against them just because I feel like it makes it so hard. If you're a guy that likes guns and you've got like mental issues, man, going to a therapist becomes really fucking scary.
Yeah.
Because what if you get a diagnosis that is now precluding you from owning firearms? And now you've got to show up in court and you've got to fight a judge for your Second Amendment right, which is a very important one in the United States. That gets hairy. And depending on how people, represent red flag laws and what type they're pushing for, it is a really scary thing. But I'm just saying
that's a good point. And that's a challenge.
Interesting how much Dr. Igloo Genius and I, who are, we have a lot of a huge overlap in what we, how we feel the society should work. But there's also a lot that we don't agree on. It's interesting how both of us watching this are kind of not really falling where we would expect to fall. Interesting. That's why we're having fun, guys.
It reminds me of the do you guys know BoJack Horseman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that scene with the, saying the women carry guns and she's in front of Congress and she's like, well, if you don't want women to carry guns because you're worried about what's going to happen, then you either have to ban all guns, or you've got to let women do it, and they like ban all guns. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of what it feels like happened with the transgender thing with the after the shooting, where conservatives are like all of a sudden, because they're like, well, maybe it is really important that we look at the mental health of people that have guns, and like everyone on the left is like, what the fuck? Well, like, yeah, of course, but.
Well, I agree. I think if someone goes on Prozac, you could argue that they're not mentally well for a gun. If someone's an alcoholic,
that's
you could
like
argue
25% of fucking Americans.
Exactly. That is a lot of people who are on Prozac. If you have to say Prozac, pretty sure. Is Prozac an SSRI? Pretty sure it is, right? But that doesn't... the sheer number of people who are on these drugs... Now, I agree that they can affect things. But the percentages of people who are on these drugs versus the percentage of people who are on these drugs and commit atrocities like that is not big enough for that to be a thing at all. Exactly. Zippy says, shall not be infringed is the only option because government sucks. Yeah, I don't think, as somebody who used to be a super anti-gun liberal, once I listened to the actual arguments, once I actually understood why people were fighting for this, I realized that my anti-gun position was based on nothing but fear and ignorance.
At this point, though.
Pharmaceuticals.
That's scary. And there's another interesting thing I talk about when I was in LA, in Venice, and you got those guys selling weed cards. And they're like, I'm walking down the street going to the skate park, and this guy goes, yeah, man, you get your weed card yet? You get your weed card? And I'm like, nah, I'm a weed card. He's like, why not? Why don't you have your weed card? And I'm like, I don't need one. He's like, I'm not sick. And he goes, oh, well, you skateboard, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, don't you like hurt your legs or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sometimes my knees. And he goes, oh, bro, you got knee problems? Oh, you need some meat. You need some weed. You got to get a weed card. Doctor will get you signed up. Not interested. You get that weed card, you smoke weed, you aren't eligible, you can't own a gun.
Maybe for physical pain, you could get away with it, but if you say it's...
Nope. I don't know about every state, but I'm pretty sure any state that has medical only, if you have a card, and there is... I think so. I think it's every state that that doesn't have recreational, but that has medical. If you have that weed card, you cannot get a gun. I mean, fact check me on that. I don't know that for sure, but definitely in New Jersey.
Stress?
No. Ian,
wait. Is that true? Or are you saying
No.
it could theoretically be true with red flag laws?
On the form, it asks you if you are a user of narcotics. And so the risk is if you have a weed prescription card, yes, you are. And that means you will be ineligible for owning a gun.
It's insane.
Huh.
Yeah, so you ever see what are they called? The forms you fill out when you have to buy a gun? It asks you if you're a user of narcotics.
And they have it classified federally as a Schedule 1 narcotic.
Right. It's like the worst possible one. If you have a weed card, I don't think you'll be able to argue you weren't lying. They're going to say you have a weed card prescription, like to do this drug.
There's no shot. I can't believe that.
I've never heard it. That's actually real. That anyone's ever had their guns taken away because they had a weed card. I've never heard that. I can see that argument though.
Well, you wouldn't have your guns taken away because you wouldn't be able to get them in the first place.
You know what? I know.
Actually, I guess that doesn't make sense. You could theoretically have the guns before, but they're not asking about guns when you get the weed card. They're asking about the weed card when you get the guns. So Zippy says they already overturned those laws in a couple of states, and I say that's definitely something to celebrate. We need to change this bifurcated culture specifically. I mean, just in general, but specifically when it comes to guns, because there's so much uninformed people, and I know this because I was one of them, and I thought I knew, I thought I understood, and I just had no clue. And they say, there's things that you know. There's things that you don't know. There's things you know that you don't know. And then there's the biggest category is the things that you don't know that you don't know. And that was guns, among many other things for me.
No, that's not the case, because if that was, I would have heard conservatives complaining. They
wanted Hunter Biden arrested over it because he filled out a form and said he wasn't a drug user when he's a crackhead.
No. But that's
literally why they want him arrested.
For Hunter Biden?
Hunter Biden filled out a form. The form was released publicly, and on it, he said he was not a drug user, despite...
the 4473 for a gun?
The background check form for a gun. It asks you if you're a user of narcotics.
I feel like they wanted him arrested because they said that he's doing illegal dealings overseas where he's roping his father into the...
Specifically for the gun issue, it was like his girlfriend or whatever, his wife threw the gun in a dumpster behind his school.
Did they accurately date the crack use, though, for when he filled out the form?
That was the question.
That's really important.
Is the argument he quit doing crack a long time ago, thus he was saying no, and the argument was he's like still a crackhead. They found a crack pipe in his car around some time or whatever.
That's a good question, Harley. Is there any correlation to drugs and gun violence? And I would think yes, because of the fact that guns and drugs are both illegal. So if you're going to be into drugs, you're more likely to need guns, and I would say that the gun control is what leads to that correlation. Obviously the legality of drugs also have to do with that, but you don't necessarily see it the other way around. You don't necessarily see it, well, if you're going to be into illegal guns, then you're probably into drugs. Maybe, but definitely the other way around. But again, it is important to remember that correlation is not causation. Zippy says the problem is if it's only social media, then the problem is if it's only on social media, then it's only on social media. If they take it beyond that to grassroots movement, etc., then it's no longer social media only. Well, I mean, we are. So what was that in response to? Harley said we could. You got a whole conversation going on here. All right, I'm not gonna dive too much into that because I don't know what you guys are talking about. But the media, block, whoever agree instead of doing political systems. Yeah, I'm not. That's a whole other deal. But I will say that because of how society is, absolutely, if it's on social media, it's not only on social media. I don't know if that, again, I'm not saying, arguing with you. I'm just making that point because I'm not privy to the whole conversation you guys had been having. FFF Mike says drugs are a cause for violence and guns are a means for violence. So the correlation makes sense. Great point. Drugs are a cause for violence because they are illegal, and guns are a means for violence. So the correlation does, in fact, make sense. Well said. Dan said, very smart to dump a gun in a dumpster behind a school. What? Who did that?
And so I am not saying overtly and outright every single person who ever has a weed card will never be able to buy a gun again. I'm saying if they want grounds to take your weapons and you have had a weed card, they will come. They will have a notice and they will say, look, you have a weed card. You're a user. Tell it to a judge. We're taking your guns. They'll use it as a pretext. We do.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I looked at the 4470 things. I'm curious now. So
now he's Googling. So we know he must be well informed.
So it says, so it says, are you an unlawful user of marijuana? So I would say if you've got the card, you're probably not unlawful, but federally,
no.
This is a federal form, maybe you would be.
You would absolutely be. They actually say on the form, I'm pretty sure it says note, regardless of local laws. See what it says? It says that, right?
Yeah, it says possession of marijuana remains.
How far? I missed that.
That was the question. It was, and again, I'm saying if they want grounds to take your weapons and you have had a weed card, they will come. They will have a notice and they will say, look, you have a weed card. You're a user. Tell it to a judge. We're taking your guns.
I must have missed it. But yeah, that is our target. Zippy says criminals have drugs and guns, so it's there. So if you remove anything but usage / carry of drugs, then the numbers would be interesting to see. How many drug users bother to harm others after all? A lot. A lot. We're not necessarily just talking about weed anymore, but you have to understand that the drug world is very, 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 very violent. Your average user might not be, but one step above that. I had a gun pointed in my face because because Akon, my boy Akon, was selling, just about a pound at a time. He would get a pound, sell a dime, whatever. Gun in my face. Not his face, my face. Because I was just with him. So even one level up from just your average user, violence is imminent. Imminent.
They'll use it as a pretext.
We do. Wait, hold on. Okay, I looked up the 4470 things. I'm curious now. So it says, so it says, are you an unlawful user of marijuana? So I would say if you've got the card, you're probably not unlawful, but federally, no. This is a federal form, maybe you would be.
You would absolutely be. They actually say on the form, I'm pretty sure it says note, regardless of local laws. See what it says? It says that, right?
Yeah, it says possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized. Oh shit! Well, government's coming for my gun soon.
Completely insane.
You're like, oh crap!
This country is built on the back of hemp, man. Look at George Washington's eyes on the $1 bill. He's stoned.
Although I will say, I've never heard of like the ATF cross-referencing databases to like axe guns from people that have like legal marijuana cards or whatever.
Not yet, Destiny. Not yet. That is the point.
But they can if they want to.
Theoretically, maybe.
Thanks for watching.
All right, you asked for it. We gon' get it. It is the uncensored, segment with Destiny. So actually, I'm gonna give us a 720. Keep it rolling. Hold on. So the Discord that being a member, there's the Discord server, and at the end they do call-ins, and I think it's really cool. And if you look out, you can see my name in the chat a couple times, not much, because I'm usually in the voice chat.
Welcome to the members only uncensored portion of the show. We have this video from Billboard Chris. Let's pop over into this live room right here.
Yep.
We got to mute everybody first, though, right?
Yes.
All right,
I'll do it for you.
Let's pop those mute buttons real quick.
Okay.
So remember, guys, we were talking earlier about parents who are going in to talk to the school boards about what's going on in their in the schools. Real quick, Zippy says average user is more common than dealers and bangers. So again, it's a neat statistic to look at. Sure, absolutely. I would argue an exponentially higher number of average users than even that one level and all the levels up to like El Chapo. But there's still a lot there. We're talking about a huge number of people, just individuals. There's just a huge number. Then you bring into the idea again taking it outside of weed, because your average weed smoker is just gonna happy, hungry, sleepy. But if we're talking about cocaine, we're talking about heroin, we're talking about crack, we're talking about meth. These people spend all of their time and money on either getting money to get high or being high, being under the influence of drugs, sometimes at the same time. And so, trust me, you will do some shady shit that you would never, ever, ever, ever do in your entire life when you are faced with the potential of having to deal with not having drugs. So yes, the average user is way more common. But number one, that doesn't mean that they are not going to be violent. Number two, that is still a huge number of dealers and bangers. Harley says drug trade is illegal and no federal protection. So the only means they have to protect themselves is with violence. Illegal guns are easy to get and use. Unfortunately, that is true. Yep. Gun control only makes the criminals more powerful. So, trigger warning. Oh, wrong one. Trigger warning. This is bad.
And who do we got? We got 4 callers coming in later tonight.
Right.
And then we'll pop into that live room so y'all can hear us. But let's do this. Let's play this video and then talk about the weird things happening in schools and what the right is complaining about these days. So this is a video from Billboard Chris. A school teacher asks kids to list which classmates they sexually fantasize about. Specifically, with whom do they want to have anal penetration, oral sex, ear licking, and kissing? Okay, well, here's the video.
Many of you know me, so I am here to discuss this atrocity of assignments. I want to first say you're a liar. It's not a rumor. I have the proof right here in my phone of the with whom would you do it with? And my daughter specifically stated that the teacher put up a wheel on the classboard and it stated anal penetration, oral sex, licking of ear, kissing, and he wanted them to write down the initials of a boy or girl that they would do these activities with. Now, I don't know what's worse, wanting to know my child's sexual fantasy or who they're going to have anal penetration and oral sex with.
This is not just in the school library. This was an assignment.
What is he gaining from this? What do you gain from this information? Why has my daughter that naively did the assignment? Because she's scared. She wants to get good grades. She wants to be, get her license. She has to get good grades.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
And so she does this assignment. Where's the assignment? Why hasn't she had it turned back to her?
Never got it back. Never got the assignment back.
With her grade on it. What is he doing with it? Is this for his spank bank? Is he literally using this for his sexual deviant?
Probably.
These are questions that need to be answered.
All right, well, I think we get the point of that. This is a...
So let them tell you that they're not G-rooming children. Let them tell you that. Just don't believe them. I mean, how many individual... Yes, this is anecdotal. This is one person. That was, the assignment for the whole class. And I'm pretty sure that teacher would have more than one class. So, I mean, I guess that, multiplies it by 20, 30, 40 people. But it's still anecdotal. But how much anecdotal evidence becomes statistically significant? Just saying. Harley said the drug, yeah, we got that. And that's the problem with gun control. It's a lot harder to get legal weapons than illegal weapons. Then again, legal system only works if you use it properly. Well said, well said. Zabi said, hard drugs is interesting. The more you ban it, the more things spiral out of control. As the system grows desperate to control it and the black market multiplies that desperation. It is a rabbit hole. Yeah. And I mean, I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily have the perfect answer, but certainly prohibition is not the way. Now, we've been doing a decent job legalizing recreational marijuana in a lot of states, but even harder drugs, it doesn't help. We went through an entire period of alcohol prohibition. In Portugal, they have shoot-up sites. You go to this building. They give you, I think it's free. They give you free drugs. They give you free clean stuff. And then there's a program that they give you resources. They do this, they do that. At the end of the day, people who want to do drugs are going to do drugs. I'm not in favor of, I think it was in California or somewhere where they're just giving out like kits and just like giving them out. And that's it. That's not going to help much of anything. You're just going to have needles all over the place because instead of the drug addicts getting hepatitis, well, they can just toss the needle and go get a new one. And now you're just walking down the street and it pricks your foot. And now you got hepatitis. We need to start. I mean, all of this talk about treating, the trans thing as healthcare. Okay, I'm willing to have that conversation. The drug thing has been a problem for a lot longer and for a lot more people. So where's the conversation on that? What surprises me is the fact that this happens. I'm talking about the video, I assume, and kids don't speak out against it or refuse it. Why does it take the parents to say something? That's what I find strange. I'll tell you exactly why. Because they don't know any better. They have grown up with this. This is normal to them. They don't know that this is abnormal. So it takes the people who lived in a world where this wasn't normal to be like, hey, this isn't normal. This is just par for the course. If you spend one day on TikTok, this is par for the course. That's why. Are we talking wolf sex ed? What? I don't know what that means. This is also a good point for Mike because they don't feel they have a voice. They're kids. And also they don't know if what they're, yeah, exactly. I don't like saying that out loud, but 100% agree. Zippy said, healthcare is the answer, but it means giving addicts 2 to 3 choices and not letting criminals trade. I feel the market can control it better if it was. Oh, I feel like the market may be able to control it better if it was a healthcare issue. Absolutely.
Parent who's outraged that his daughter did this assignment. I was recently talking to a friend of ours who was explaining how their kid was also given some kind of weird assignment, and they were told that they would fail if they didn't do it, and they were scared, so they just did it. And I'm just like, dude, tell your kid to tell them fuck off. Don't do these things. Go on.
But before before lockdown, parents didn't even know this was going on. So kids don't know that there's anything wrong, and parents aren't seeing, what's going on. So now that the parent knows, hey, if anything else like this comes up, tell them to screw off. I mean, I guess, we're cursing out. But it's only now that this is becoming relevant enough, or not prevalent enough, I mean, to be an issue. How says, I don't believe that. I've come across instances like this in school and knew it was inappropriate and wrong. I always spoke out against it every time something was done. And every time something was done. Good for you. I'm glad that you had the presence of mind to be able to do that. But that's you. That's you. Do you think that you are an average person? Or do you think that you maybe have a little bit better understanding of things like that than the average person? I would say the latter for you.
Go home and tell the parents if the teachers are doing weird shit.
Why was ear licking on that list?
I don't know.
I felt like there was a lot of extreme stuff, and ear licking just kind of like stood out as like a random.
It's the
it sounds like it sounds to me.
Don't kink shame, Destiny. How dare you?
Like what we're seeing a lot of is pedophiles using politics as a shield to do weird ass shit.
Well, hold on. Okay, 2 big things. Firstly, is there any proof that this assignment actually happened?
Bro.
That would be the number one thing. I'd be curious. It's strange that only one teacher or one parent is complaining about that, because that sounds like a fucking wild assignment.
That's only a video of one parent. You're assuming that he was the only parent that said anything at all.
That I would think a lot of parents would have trouble with. Number one.
I mean, how many kids are in the class? Maybe like 26.
That's a lot of kids.
Right. And how many kids actually went and told their parents? Maybe 3. How many of them believed it?
I don't know. But that's the question. So I'm curious if the assignment actually.
And how many of those kids have parents who would say, oh, this is no big deal. This is great. This is so progressive. I love it. Exactly, Mike. I mean, Harley, you're a very smart person, and you I wouldn't say that you necessarily had a typical childhood. That and some of those things would give you a more mature outlook. Not a lot of kids understand that. Are parents not teaching their kids what it is and isn't appropriate? It wasn't just me. I don't know if it's a generational thing or what. It absolutely is. Kids I went to school with didn't tolerate this. Right. But that's the issue. That's the whole issue, is that this used to be not this used to be not tolerated, and now it's becoming tolerated. That is the point. FFF Mike says one example of that is in Japanese subways where bystanders will simply ignore someone having a heart attack. Japanese as well as New York City subways
actually existed, because I would ask that question for anything, number one. And then number two, is this teacher using politics to do things, or is this just like a pedophile teacher if it actually happened? Because it seems like just a pedophile teacher. Like,
he's so close. Yes, Destiny, you have correctly identified the issue. So just go that one. You're fumbling on the 1 yard line. Yes, this is a pedo teacher. Begs the question, how many more are there?
I don't know.
Right. But that means there's a lot of them because we hear a lot of these stories, and I think that's probably the case.
Well, but like, do we hear a lot of these stories?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we hear a lot of stories because we pay attention. You may not hear any one of these stories.
Do we?
Yes.
Well, what do you mean by these
I think the
stories?
only I think a big component in the difference between the left and the right is the media you consume, which is why like we went to hell and back watching the Ahmaud Arbery stuff, and you didn't. And I'm not saying that as like
Sure.
a
Wait. Well, this is different.
So they on the show they got into a whole argument about Ahmaud Arbery, and Destiny just didn't know. He just accepted the jogger narrative. I absolutely don't think that Ahmaud Arbery deserved to die by any means. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he wasn't just some jogger.
That's the fact about the case. So here's my question, right? I ask this for BLM people a lot. Let's say that every single week there was a horrible killing of an innocent person by a police officer, right? Would that be bad? Our gut reaction is to say yes.
An innocent person being killed by a cop?
Yeah.
It's bad.
But the question is, like, what should that number be? It's not going to be 0.
Right.
There's going to be some, right?
No, I agree.
So then the question is, like, when we hear about like teachers that are doing weird shit, obviously that should never be the case. But like, let's say that we got like 10 stories in a year of teachers doing weird stuff. How many teachers are there?
That is a good point. However, it is superseded and made nullified by the fact that even the teachers who are not doing the actual stuff are supporting the teachers who are. So if these were isolated teachers who were following their own crazy ideology and nobody else was down with it, then I would say great point, Destiny. Great point. With enough children, enough teachers, enough parents, you're eventually going to find some weird shit like this. But that's not the point. The point is when we do see stories like this, individual instance stories, you get people coming to the defense. So even if it is only one class that's actually doing it, it's a lot more that want to do it.
How many schools are there, right?
Yeah,
if there were like
100,000.
Yeah, if there were 100 schools and 10 teachers are doing some pedo shit, we've got a huge problem. But if there's like 100,000 schools and 10 teachers do some weird shit, it's like, that's bad, of course, but it doesn't show that there's like some systemic issue. There's always going to be some weird fucky shit in the system, right?
Here's what happens. Mm-hmm. A school will have this weird ass shit in the curriculum, these books.
Okay.
A parent will complain about it, and a conservative politician will answer that complaint, and the Democrats will respond by doing tribal bullshit.
I agree.
So I call this what you're referring to, and I call it the scaling problem. And the example that I give is, if Apple were to give out 100 brand new iPhone 15s to 100 celebrities, and 1% of those phones broke, no one would give a shit.
This is a fantastic analogy.
One celebrity comes out, my phone doesn't work. And they'd be like, it sucks for you, I guess. If they gave out 100 million phones to the public and 1% broke, it would be the biggest story everywhere because you'd have 1 million people posting online about how their phone's broken. Same percentage, same failure rate, but the bigger the volume, the more serious a smaller
I agree.
percentage is.
This is one of the reasons why. Oh, we're on Rumble, right? So I can say.
You can say what the fuck you want now.
So black people. No, the issue that I this is what I say for. I don't know where you sound this. Maybe fun of this, but this is what I fight with for anti-vaxxers, where they say mRNA vaccines killing people, causing people to drop dead, blah 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 blah, and it's like billions of doses given out. If these were like huge problems, there would be more than 1 or 2 people on a Project Veritas show. We would see tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people dropping dead.
This is exactly.
So you are guaranteed for sure. I'm not making any claims, but based on what Destiny just said, he seems to be certain that over the next 10 years, there's going to be absolutely no widespread complications. I wish I had that level of confidence in anything.
Exactly what I say.
Sure.
I'm like, if they gave out 500 million doses, and you're seeing a lot of these stories, it may just be that the side effect rate is 0.01% or whatever, and you give out 500 million doses and you get 1,000 stories or whatever.
And the fact of the matter is, statistics go out the window when you are one. I don't really care how many other people get fucked up from the jab. If I got fucked up from the jab, I don't care if nobody else in the world did. It still fucked me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always like a matter of scale is really important, I think, because you can never, because we live.
Well, no, because like it matters, but as was just explained to you, that doesn't negate the issue.
There's so many people in the United States. What is it, like 340 million people? Yeah. Like, you can theoretically manufacture whatever story that you want by selecting what you want to report on. It could be police officers killing black people. It could be police officers killing white people. It could be certain types of hate crimes. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening constantly in the United States. Whether or not it's a systemic problem, we have to do like a by the numbers. Like, is it actually an issue? And I think that's important. And I think something that you brought up, real quick, something you brought up is really important. And I always fight with people on the left all the time over this, is a lot of issues get blown up, in my opinion, unfairly by conservatives. But it's not just because there's a small amount of it happening on the left. It's because when they blow up that small amount of it happening, people on the left will come out and defend it.
How is it that you just made that point, but you don't understand that that was the point of exactly what we were talking about? The point is that people are defending it.
Right. And then that's where the issue comes from, right? Like,
yes.
I don't think there are that many parents in the U.S. saying, I have a 4-year-old trans child.
I agree.
I think that is unbelievably rare. But when a conservative points it out, a lot of people on the left are like, well, hold on, is that really that big of a problem? And it's like, okay, well, now you made it a problem by all you people defending it. You know?
It's in the 10th.
Based destiny, finally saying something that has some sense to it. Jesus. Zippy said, yeah, I'm rather hesitant on the mRNA. Give me something better tested. So, I mean, the mRNA technology itself is fine. It's just this particular thing has not been tested. I am sure that most people, I'm not sure, but, you know, colloquially speaking, colloquially or idiomatically, you know what I mean? I bet that most people are going to be completely fine. That is not what we are talking about.
Tens of thousands. And I think Matt...
No shot. A 4-year-old saying they're trans?
No. Minors getting sex change surgery is in the tens of thousands.
Well, even that is absolutely not true.
It is. Yeah.
No, it's not.
It is. Yeah. But
if I had to guess, minors getting...
So again, we have somebody who's quoting something. And without a source, you're saying, that's wrong. And now you're saying, if I had to guess. Why are you guessing? If you don't have the source and he has the source, then you could say, okay, that doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't have anything to the contrary to present to you.
Like, SRS is probably in like the double digits.
We're talking about
like 15 of them.
We're talking about facial feminization. We're talking about mastectomies. Only a few hundred are actual full-blown SRS.
Okay, even for facial feminizations or mastectomies, if I had to guess, maybe a couple hundred.
No, you're wrong. Yeah.
There's no way it's tens of thousands. Let me. I'm curious where the numbers. Look them up.
But it might be like 22 or 23,000. I think it was like 45.
I want to say.
And again, Destiny, the point that you just made about how this is being defended is the issue. Is it a problem if an individual decides that they are, feeling whatever and they want to wear a dress and they got a penis? I don't really care. Is it a problem that when they decide to do that, it may be due to underlying mental health issues, but despite that, they go on TikTok and now get an entire population of people egging them on and cheering them on and giving them dopamine hits and likes and views and all of that? That is the problem. You're just missing the point.
For like puberty blockers, it was like the number was like 5,000 over like 7 years. So if like that many children are getting mastectomies and FFS, facial feminization surgery, for minors?
Yeah. Let me pull up I don't want to pull up those. Money spent. It's hard to like just randomly pull up one of the charts. I was talking about it last week or so because Matt Walsh got embarrassed when he said millions.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Because it was completely wrong.
And it was absolutely wrong. For the year, I think it was a few thousand. And then over the past few years, it's in the tens of thousands.
The thing, like facial feminizations, I don't even know if you can do that on a minor because like your shit is still like growing and developing. I don't even know.
You know,
if you
Jazz
would do
Jennings got surgery at 17, and Kim Petras at 16.
some celebrities might have some exceptions.
Okay,
the numbers.
Bro, Jazz Jennings was not a celebrity until Jazz Jennings became the trans person. I'm working on it, bro. I just got into his Discord server. I'm actually working a lot on building connections in the Timcast server right now. Hopefully on Monday we should have a guest. But yes, oh man, that by the latest, by the end of the year, I will have a debate with Destiny for sure. So subscribe.
It's probably at 0. But
Lippincott, Williams, and Wilkins says 9,000 transgender surgeries being performed annually across the United States. That's in general.
That's as of now. 9,000. What did it say? There are about 9,000 transgender surgeries being performed annually across the U.S. Now, how many surgeries was it in, let's say, 2015? Guarantee you it was a lot less than 9,000. Do you see where we're going with this, Destiny?
Let me. It's from October. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Diagnoses of
perfect. So we got so let's see if
patients in the United States, 6 to 17. It's substantially greater than the tens of thousands for diagnoses at just 6 to 17. It's 15,000, 18, 21, 24, 42. I don't.
Sure, but so that was 42,000 diagnoses of gender dysphoria.
That's why I was saying surgeries are in the tens of thousands. If the total.
Well, but wait, you think half of people diagnosed with gender dysphoria?
I think it's like 24 or something like that.
Well, no, but I'm saying if 40,000 got diagnosed with gender dysphoria, half of them getting surgery?
Yes. I mean, I don't know about half, but like
it's probably
20%?
like less than 1%. The facial feminization surgery is really expensive. It's like $40,000. That's a really pricey surgery.
So
there's no way 20,000 people are getting, like even most of the trans people that I know, like online can't afford that surgery. That's like a really exotic surgery.
Maybe you're right. They say here that for puberty blockers, it's in the thousands, 16 to 17. And this is from October.
And again, even if it's not the surgeries and it's just the puberty blocking, even if it is just the social transitioning, where does that lead? I'm kind of mad at Tim for taking the bait and arguing about the numbers. It's not about the numbers and what they are today. It's about the notion. It's about the concept, and it's about the change in culture. That's what it's about. It doesn't matter whether it's 9,000 or 10,000 or 4,000 today. It matters what's going to be in 5 years.
600. So we're looking at like what 4,000 people getting puberty blockers,
and surgeries are going to be like a fraction of probably that too.
Let me see if it actually says hormone therapy. Oh, whoa, hormone therapy is actually substantially higher. Children getting hormone therapy. Holy fuck, 14,726. So I was definitely wrong on the surgeries outright. It looks like I might have been looking at
hormone therapy as of 2021, which was, just when this was really starting to peak. In 2021, 4,000, up from 3,000. The year before, went up only by 100. The year before, when everybody before lockdown, we went from 1,900 to 2,300. And then look at the spike. And this is not even counting the last this year and last year. And we know for a fact that this stuff is getting more popular. So why are we talking about the numbers of today? I find that utterly irrelevant.
Hormone therapy count as if it's not puberty blockers. I'm curious. What is? I can't read that.
Hormone treatments to initiate puberty that aligns with their gender identity.
Gotcha.
For whom the puberty blocker has already passed or
and then is this
the
in the U.S. or is this?
I believe this is in the U.S.
US
I think I was looking at this one. I thought it was surgery. I think I made that mistake.
U.S. patients ages 6 to 17 with prior gender dysphoria diagnosis initiating hormone treatment.
I think it was hormone therapy.
Gotcha.
And it's like what are we coming up with? Like 12, 13, maybe 14 or 15,000.
See, all this time spent. Oh yeah, okay. I guess I was wrong. It's not 12,000. It's 4,000. That changes nothing.
14,726.
A lot about if we
okay,
are
top surgeries is in just shy of 1,000 from 2019 to 2021. Interestingly, they go from 2017 to 2021, but for mastectomies, they only go from 2019.
But there's only a few hundred per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like oftentimes people are blowing these things into huge out of proportion fights and causing it to become bigger than it actually is.
Well, here's the reason I brought it up. Hormone therapy in the
So before it goes on that, yeah, Harley, I think you answered your own question. An important question is, why is this becoming more prevalent in younger ages? Part of it is the ideology pushes, and the other part is big pharma and medicine. I mean, that's it. That's it. It's the social contagion, and the push from big pharma. I mean, it's not like we haven't had a nationwide crises based on those two things alone before.
14,726. I think that's a bad thing, but I think you are right. The left then immediately comes to the defense of it, and it's like, why? I think the right has, any person has a right to be like, I am concerned by this thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And then what happens is tribalism kicks in, and whichever side will just then immediately be like, okay, now I'm for it because you're against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And that's a big problem because there has to be, well, this is one of our topics did we do Penn State? Was conservatives hate trans people?
Yep.
I think that was my issue. I feel like when it comes to, so I think trans people are real. And I think that you probably know when you're a minor, but it's very difficult to have that conversation of determining when a minor is trans, because a lot of people on the right seem to want to shut it down completely. And a lot of people on the left, I think, are too validating of the position. And what we really need is if we care about trans youth, we probably really need more critical methods to evaluate if you're actually trans. And if it's not just some stupid shit you heard on TikTok, or if it's not depression or something else masquerading as I'm trans. But it's almost...
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I'm willing to grant that, some people, however, I don't understand the notion, and I never heard it explained how you could possibly understand what the feeling of being the wrong gender is. But hey, I don't know all things, and just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I'm willing to grant that. The ease with which this can just go off into irreversible, stages is crazy. It's crazy. And he is right about the pushback, or the response to the conservative pushback, that the left just comes in full bore. It's like, nobody is helping this. Nobody.
Possible to have that conversation because everybody gets triggered immediately to their own tribalistic groups about what should be happening.
Well, we had James Lindsay on, and he said there's no such thing as a trans kid, and I disagree. And I said I think Alex Jones was right to turn the freaking frogs gay. I think a component of this could be endocrine disruptors from plastics or other petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals that have feminizing or masculizing effects on fetuses in the womb. And so when the question comes up of why are we seeing so many kids now become trans, it's like, well, the social component plays a role, but it probably could be plastics. Plastics, if you go to an antique store, you look at the 50s and 60s, it's metal and it's tin, it's glass. And then you get the boomer generation, which is growing up in the age of plastic products. Everything's in a plastic bottle. 20 years later, we're talking the 70s and 80s, they're having kids. Surprise, surprise. Millennials and Gen Z are having higher rates of gender dysphoria and things like that. It could be plastics. I don't know for sure.
Microwaving plastic is getting plastic into your food for sure.
And we know that these phthalates and PCBs, et cetera, are endocrine disruptors. So it's fucking with people bad. So when I hear these stories, I'm like, it might be true.
Food coloring and high fructose corn syrup and aspartame. The list
for sure
is
the challenge. I think with a lot of this though is, here's my prediction. My prediction is it will all be permabanned. I think the right will completely win this one, because it's one thing to say we should ban it outright. If a human being commits suicide, let's say like a dude named Bill, 18 years old, he's a football player, and then one day he ends his life. They go, I don't know why he did this. If it was because he was dysphoric and could not get treatment, no one will know. But if a trans person, if a child is told they're trans when they're not because of some stupid shit on TikTok, gets surgery, and then later commits suicide, it will be seen as related to being trans. In which case, the hyper-focus will be the trans treatments are bad because they don't know about the people who would not have killed themselves had they got it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. There's going to be a selection criteria where,
So what I look at Jazz Jennings, and I think Jazz is a really good example of how the left will lose this one. Have you been following the Jazz story?
I have not.
You just called her a celebrity. You're like, well, yeah, some celebrities. Mike says, Alex Jones is right about chemicals in the water. Look up Tyrone Hayes' research of the effects of astrazine on frogs. Yeah, they looked it up on JRE, and he was right. I mean, not turning them gay, turning them technically trans, but Alex Jones is right. Put $1 in the Alex Jones is right jar. Host says, currently, we can't address the issue the way it needs to be. Because once again, political ideology gets in the way of conversation. Another way of saying dogmatic thinking is holding us back.
Holy fuck, bro. It's going to... But you know about Jazz, right? Jazz
I did like saxophone in college.
Jazz Jennings was 3 when Jazz's parents said that as a little boy was...
Oh, there's me. Look. The Indian Jesus. These are real books. Look them up. Gender Career, just a tip. These are nuts. KBCs and Blue Messiah. And then there was someone else that reminded me of the other one. Nick and Andrew, I think it is.
Okay.
Got puberty blockers at like the age of 7, I think, or something like that. And never developed sexual function at all, reproductive function. When Jazz was prepubescent, I don't even know what pronouns to use. They were saying that they were attracted to boys.
Okay.
After the age of puberty, like 12 or 13, Jazz was saying that they were pansexual, which said to me, like, all of a sudden Jazz is now attracted to women. And that's why Jazz is saying pan, like everyone. Hurrah! Jazz is now dating women. Jazz is a biological male who is dating women, transgender as a child, and has a pelvic wound. It's not a penile inversion vaginoplasty because there was never any material to do the surgery with because of puberty blockers. And there's a viral video of Jazz's mom saying, I wake Jazz up at night with a dilator, I lubricate, and I say, you stick this in your vagina or I will. And if she goes off to college and she doesn't do this and it seals up, I wring her neck.
Word for word, that is what her mother told her. Or not even told her, told the cameras on Jazz Jennings' show.
And it's like, holy fuck, dude. So the story to me, Jazz is morbidly obese, been gorging, was supposed to go to college a couple years ago, didn't because of depression. The family said Jazz can't be alone. There's a video going on from the show where Jazz is like depressed and saying, I can't help it. I don't feel like me ever. I don't feel like me. And the mom saying, I'm going to jam this thing into you. If you don't do it, I will do it and I'll wring your neck. And I'm like, sounds like Jazz is starting to realize who they really are. A male who's attracted to women and is being forced by their psychotic mother to jam a lubricated dilator into a pelvic wound for TV.
Yup. And so for those of you who haven't heard of Jazz Jennings, that's basically their story. It was a young boy, and then I think that he said age 3 or 4, they started to transition. They got a show on TLC. And now that Jazz is a teenager, I don't know exactly what age. I want to say like 16 or 17. There's a scene where that I saw from Tim's show where Jazz is in her room crying and saying, I don't feel like myself. And her mom comes in and said, stop thinking like that. Stop thinking you're what is it? Self-talk or something. And just like completely ignoring the very obvious concerns of her child. Unfortunately, Mike, yes, I am quite familiar with John Money. I did psychology in college. And then you can still see on this channel, we went through the entirety of What is a Woman? Another thing that is behind a paywall, but I brought it to you guys because I care so much. But yeah, John Money, the doctor who was wanking off 2-year-olds for research purposes. Harley Rose says there are potential benefits to this as well. We could learn a lot about hormonal development, sexual maturity, etc. We could also develop treatments for those who have reproductive issues. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I will totally take accountability for getting triggered on some of this stuff. Like, I mean, I can go from 0 to 100 pretty quick when it comes to this stuff. I am certainly not innocent of that in any way, shape, or form. But I would argue that it's not because of the existence of trans people. It's because of the push, the ideological push, and the rates of social contagion that we're seeing. And so, helpful or not, I do feel relatively justified. And I'm willing to, hear these types of conversations, but that's not what is being talked about. Harley goes on to say, we don't care about that because dogmatic thinking blinds us to the potential good of things. There you go. There you go.
I think I predicted all of this stuff happening. A few years ago when Jazz came out and said they were like, the story was that Jazz was pan, I'm like, give it a few more years, Jazz will be dating women. Boom, here we are. Jazz is now dating women.
And so that's the kind of stuff, little stuff. I mean, that's kind of obvious. Not obvious, but not a hard thing to think of, but just little things where it's like, okay, you're paying attention, you can see where this is going, and you can predict the future.
This is a person who's coming into
Hey, me again.
Realize what their gender identity actually is, and it's aligned with their biological sex. They have imposed gender dysphoria on a child who did not know better. My fear is that Jazz will commit suicide. Maybe not because of the pressure around Jazz. This is the kind of family that I think will go to Jazz and be like, don't you do this to us. You don't do this to us. You can't. We have a TV show. But I think it's possible that Jazz will either detransition or commit suicide.
Yep.
And that's going to be a major strike against all of this stuff. And the left will lose the battle.
And obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. Obviously, we want people to be happy and healthy and alive. But this is the whole point, is that that's where this stuff leads more often, maybe not more often than not, but to to a degree that we need to pay attention to this.
We actually had to watch an episode of that show, one of my class at Penn State, and first thing that my girlfriend at the time I noticed was just how weird the parents were about everything. They were very touchy with their kids, very invested in everything to like a weird degree.
Thing about it's the same kind of thing with what was that? The fat young girl, Honey Boo Boo. Same kind of thing. Not obviously not as drastic, but yeah,
That just didn't feel normal. Like they even kissed their kids on the mouth, which I thought was kind of weird.
Jazz's family.
That is weird. If you kiss your kids or anybody in your family on the mouth, that is weird.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's in the first episode. You'll see how the dad does it to her. And my takeaway from that is just, I mean, again, I'm not trying to speak for all trans people because I don't know that much about it to say, but it just seems like a lot of these people tend to grow up in like really weird households like that, or dysfunctional households. I think that contributes to a lot of the problems you're seeing.
Man, I think when I see the Jazz Jennings stories, like Jazz has gender dysphoria, hands down, because Jazz is a boy who wants to be a boy and was forced into this female form.
Saying now Jazz has gender dysphoria by being a girl, despite having been born a boy.
Through surgery and hormones.
Do you ever give advice to people that are going through this kind of thing?
What, having
Like
their
gender
mom
identity?
stick things into their inverted
Hopefully-
penile?
Yes,
It's not inverted
and
penis.
Or the
It's
non
not. It's not. It's stomach lining.
but more those that are having like gender dysphoria.
I it's hard for me to give advice about anything relating to that because like to parrot a little bit of, I mean, what you know as a parent of somebody that's gone through it, like teenage years are really tough. I don't know how I would figure out anything. Like I can only imagine, even absent trans stuff, like being gay. It's like really confusing and difficult.
Hey, we got Veronica in the building. Welcome to the party. Says not if they're babies. Pecs, not if they're babies, but age. You might have an age here, so I'm looking away. Age 4. I'm going to say age 4. I don't have kids, so whatever. Veronica says, pecs on little babies, especially the mom, is not weird. It's very normal. People do it all the time. Yeah. Babies is different. But once you're a toddler, definitely once you're older than a toddler, that's weird. Like, you remember the video with Tom Brady kissing his son on the mouth? And it wasn't just like they were like almost making out. It was weird. But thank you for clarifying that up. Yeah, I definitely, kissing a baby on the mouth is no big deal. But we're, in the context of a little bit of older kids. But welcome to the party, Veronica.
As a teenager, or having parents that are divorced, or having serious medical issues, or a family member die. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in teenage years. The hope that I would have is when we talk about trans stuff for minors is you need a really good therapist that is going to serve as a very like critical sounding board for an issue that a teen has, because there are probably a lot of reasons, as much as people don't want to hear it, there are probably a lot of reasons or comforts to identifying as trans and getting treated for being trans that have nothing to do with being treated, that have nothing to do with being trans.
No. Are you telling me, you, Destiny, you're telling me that there's some people who take benefits from acting like they're trans when they're not actually trans? What? That's crazy. I've never heard that before. Obviously, bro. That is the issue. Veronica says, well, toddlers still breastfeed and little pecks are okay, but I get there are definite boundaries and thank you. Nice being here. Well, it's nice to have you. Very glad with anybody new pops in. If you don't know me, welcome to the party. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Trying to do that by going through some stuff that may not be fun, may not be interesting, and making it fun and interesting. Welcome once again to the party, Veronica. Holly says there are areas where gender doesn't matter, but that's where everyone says it does. The only time gender really matters is when it comes to medicine and safety regulations. The rest is preferences. I think I agree. Medicine and safety regulations, if that includes, if we're including, sports and locker rooms in that, then I'll agree with you. I think. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely in the context of adults. Certainly not minors. But so, yes, I agree.
That we need to be aware of, right? Like belonging to a new community, having some new thing in life, the fact that some of these drugs are actually just really good. Testosterone is an amazing drug. Ask any man with low T that's on testosterone. There could be women that take T and have like really big like mood swings in a positive way. Yeah, because it's a fun fucking hormone to be on. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're dysphoric. It could just mean that that's like a positive effect of testosterone. So again, I'm not like I'm pro groomer and all that, whatever the fuck people call me. I think that trans kids exist, and I think that we should be able to treat them, but we have to be critical in that analysis. It can't just be a consistent, affirming, validating process where it's like, oh, you say you're trans, of course, come here, like have some estrogen or whatever. Like it can't be like that. It has to be a more critical process. And then we have to look at the fail rates on it too. Like, there's going to be some that slip through the cracks. There's going to be some kids that get mastectomies that didn't need them, and that sucks. But like, there's got to be some threshold of acceptability. If it's one kid that gets fucked up for every 10,000 that are saved, that's probably acceptable. But if it's like 50 for every 100, we have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what the fuck is going on. I think that's a fair point. I mean, there's definitely a balance. And we have not reached it, and on either side, left, right, up, down, nobody has the right answer. There is a right answer. There is a balance. We are very far from finding it. And Chibi says, I saw an 8-year-old breastfeeding though, so to even say toddler is murky water. Isn't that old for breastfeeding? I thought you breastfeed for like 2-3 years, no? I mean, I don't know shit about breastfeeding, so I am talking out of my ass. But I feel like that's old. An 8-year-old? Maybe that's not weird. I have no idea. But I don't think I wasn't breastfed at all. So, TB goes on to say we need to start doing chromosome testing at birth. Say more. Where's this coming from? What do you yeah, I'm curious. Can you elaborate a little more on that? Yeah. Okay. All right. We're all on the same page. There we go. Harley says safety regulations as in equipment, sex separated spaces, safety testing, etc. Yep. Then I definitely agree with you. We got Humongous in the building. Welcome to the party. Said affirming care for children creates detransitioners, especially when done so irresponsibly like it is these days. Absolutely. So we were just talking about What is a Woman, the documentary What is a Woman, and the detransitioner Scott that came in near the end of the documentary, if you've seen it, just a detransitioner. And they were saying that the typical timeline for detransitioning is 7 to 10 years. So I've been saying for the last few months, seems like
It was just about 7 to 10 years ago. This stuff started really kicking up. So we are due for an overwhelming influx of, gotta keep that pretty face, an overwhelming influx of detransitioners. It's just statistically, it can't not be the case. Statistically, that has to occur very to a significant degree. Well, welcome to the party, humongous. So you're talking about intersex people. I mean, they have protocols. I don't know what the hell they are, but they do have protocols. I mean, this is less than like 0.01% of the population that are born with either intersex. I don't know if this is the same thing as intersex or that are intersex or that have all of that. And I think there is a lot of times you're not like dead set in the middle. There's usually you're mostly a girl, but you have a penis, or something, or like you're mostly a girl, you might not have a penis, but you have gonads, or something like that. And so usually when that does happen, which is a very rare occasion in and of itself, there is a clear direction where it makes more sense to raise the child as what they are appearing to be more so. In the very, very, very rare case that it's a 50-50, I don't know what the fuck this is, then I think the types of conversations that the doctor is going to have with the parents, I don't think that those are just casual conversations. I think there's a procedure to that, and how to deal with that. And again, I could be completely wrong, but what I've heard is that is the case, that when the discussions are being had for these type of children, that because this isn't a new thing. It's not new at all. It's just the pushing of this fact in the pursuit of normalizing trans stuff is where a lot of leftists, or let me not even say leftists, let me say trans activists specifically, go to try to say that I now am a woman because I call myself a woman. Yes, that is a thing, says Harley. It is more common than people think, and it does cause health problems, but it gets overshadowed and misunderstood. How can we say that is rare when there's no testing? Because it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily something that can be only defined by the genome. If you have one of these things, it's likely that you'll have some sort of physiological showing of it, and maybe not always, but as far as I understand, it is very, 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 very rare for somebody to just be like dead set in the middle.
Right, like all medical treatments, like all epidemiological stuff, it has to be evaluated based on a data-driven level.
I think you've got people like Helena Kirshner. Mm-hmm. She was on the show. She's a detransitioner. She said that she went to Planned Parenthood, and after like a few minutes, they gave her the maximum dose of testosterone. Mm-hmm. And she was like, it was a mistake. I didn't know better.
Sure.
And so now she regrets it, and she got off it. And there's other, like Chloe Cole is suing, I think, her doctor, because they just rushed to being like, yeah, here you go. TikTok was right. What you learned on social media.
But this is what I don't know. I should know. I don't know where the literature is at in terms of what the standard of care actually is, because like I'll hear completely opposite stories. Like I've talked to some detransitioners who said they went in, they weren't sure, and they were like almost pushed. They were like, yo, take these drugs. Like you're probably trans, blah, blah, blah. But then I'll hear stories from other people who are like, I was trans and I went through the process for 3 fucking years and nobody wanted to diagnose me as gender dysphoric. And finally, when I was 19, I got the diagnosis and I took drugs, and I wish I would have had this, like,
Finally, when I was 19, I was able to make a life-altering decision. I'm good with that.
3 years earlier. So it feels like the standards are all over the place right now because it is cutting edge. It's a very new thing. Right?
But, the other question is, should it, even if someone suffers from gender dysphoria, should they be given this treatment? Or I should say, should they be given hormones and drugs and surgeries?
Well, to be fair to Destiny, I think that's what he was just saying, is that if there is no yes or no answer to that, it's case by case, and it should be heavily scrutinized. And I've lost my train of thought. I forgot what he was saying. So Harley said, I think you're confusing Klinefelter syndrome with ambiguous genitalia. That is what I mean by it's misunderstood. Very possible. Very possible. Do you want, if you, okay. All right. Then I'm wrong, guys. I'm wrong. So in case anybody tells you I can never be wrong, I was wrong. So if you can get us some definitions, that would be fantastic.
The problem is trans women, right? Because women are always the problem. No, the issue is that like if you are a biological male and you go through a puberty, depending on who you are, like no amount of hormones is going to be able to undo that, right?
It's true for women though.
What do you mean?
They're like, you can tell when someone's a trans man.
Yep.
A little bit.
No,
like people can.
Not, bro. Come on.
No. For trans men have a far easier time passing than trans women.
Sure, but like they still don't.
I mean, like, would you know that Buck Angel is a woman? Biologically?
I wouldn't. No, not by looking at her.
Buck.
The exception does not make the rule. I would not know that Blair White was born a man, but I damn sure I'm absolutely certain that Dylan Mulvaney and Jeffrey Marsh are men.
Angel, fair point, but probably an extreme example. But also, you can tell that Buck has a high pitched voice with a fry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but think of is it fucking Frank from the show? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, doesn't he kind of talk like this? Whatever, he's got like a voice like that, right? Like there are.
Well, first of all, I think you're talking about Gilbert Gottfried, because Frank doesn't. Danny DeVito does not talk like that at all. But that's still not what we're talking about.
There are chubby guys that what? Mac. No, it's not Mac. It's a fat guy.
Frank?
Yeah, Frank. Didn't I say
Danny DeVito?
Oh yeah, Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he?
Danny
fit that
DeVito's a dude. You can tell.
No, but doesn't he have? Doesn't he kind of have like a kind of a voice like this? It's like kind of raspy little.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
DeVito talks like this.
Bro, there's facial features.
Does anybody disagree with that? Does anybody think that Danny DeVito could be confused for a woman? Harley, resident fact checker, says ambiguous genitalia is a rare condition in which an infant's external genitals don't appear to be clearly either male or female. Klinefelter syndrome is where boys are born with an extra X chromosome. Trisomy X, also called triple X syndrome, is characterized by the presence of an additional chromosome in each of a female's cells. Interesting. Okay, so then going back to the original question about the testing, what exactly would the testing do? So now that if we know, okay, you have XXY or YYX, what would that tell us in the context of, speaking about trans stuff?
And shoulders and hips, like.
No, hey, shoulders and hips.
No, I'm not talking about Danny DeVito. I'm talking about a trans man still has hips.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, like, I think that you can have men. I think can fit a farther spectrum of, like, you can kind of have like effeminate looking men that are like.
I
agree
with that.
Yeah. Whereas for women, once you get to like the masculine puberty thing, like there are some where it's like, if you want to pass, you're gonna have to start shaving parts of your shoulder off, your face. Like, it's just way difficult.
Do you see what Andrew Tate said? That viral video where he was like,
oh yeah, I've seen it.
He was like, if Megan Fox had a dick, you could push it out of the way, but if it was like Hulk Hogan with a pussy, you'd really want to fuck that. That's gay, bro.
Sure, yeah.
Definitely demonetized.
I just think for trans women, it's really difficult because if you go through a big male puberty, if you're like 6'2" and broad-shouldered, you got a lot of work to overcome.
But it's not puberty.
So before we go into that, Harley says XYY syndrome is a rare chromosomal disorder that affects males. It is caused by the presence of an extra Y chromosome. Again, I was asking, how would that testing change? And she says, if it is a boy with an extra chromosome, they may feel like a woman. Okay, and then obviously I didn't even know what the difference between ambiguous genitalia and Klinefelter syndrome was. So I mean, it's like pulling teeth with you. How does a boy being born with an extra X chromosome and feeling like a woman relate to what we're talking about? I'm not saying it's not related. I'm asking what your point by bringing that up and having those tests. What do you think would happen by it? Harley says, before birth, the condition may be found through karyotype test, a chromosomal analysis, or a non-invasive prenatal testing. NIPT is done on the fluid surrounding the fetus, tissue from the placenta, or blood from the mother. You guys are so smart. I'm glad I have you. I don't know none of this shit.
That would happen regardless. So
if you do puberty blockers at like 13, 14,
they'll still be tall. they'll still have narrower hips. So prenatal testosterone plays a huge role in how muscle and bone develops through those years. This and for me, it's like what made this obvious. I always bring it up is skateboarding.
Okay. So let's Harley's saying Klinefelter can experience breast growth, breast cancer, osteoporosis, infertility, and learning difficulties. So I mean, playing devil's advocate here, does that really even speak to the transness of all of this? Like, aren't these issues that can be addressed as their own issues and not be like, oh, you're trans now it's no longer an issue? That's a genuine question. I guess I don't know, but that doesn't seem to really fit in to be like, oh, okay, then we should be more supporting of transitioning children.
The first 1080s on a mega ramp and a standard ramp were done by like 12-year-olds. 12-year-old girls never even done an in-ramp 720 before.
So real quick, for those who don't know, the numbers that he's talking about, they're talking about skateboarding, and it's degrees of rotation. So a 180 would be, going from here to here. 360 is a full 360, 540, 1.5, 720, 2 fill spins, so on and so forth.
Even though they're prepubescent, it doesn't
Sure.
matter. Prenatal testosterone affects fast twitch muscle, collagen, and bone density.
I'm sure it does, but there. I'm talking about. I feel like there would be a difference.
No, for sure.
Because like I know, like for instance, you can pump a kid up with a lot of HGH before like their growth plates have closed, and they'll be taller.
Right.
Like you can do that to a kid that's like prepubescent. Or
Dad, why did you do that? I could have been a normal height. Come on.
Going through puberty. So I feel like if you inhibited testosterone production like prior to puberty or during puberty, like they might still be tall, but I don't know if they would be as tall or as broad shouldered.
I agree.
As it, or actually, I'm gonna go back. I do know this 100% because for eunuchs, if you fucking cut their balls off and shit, like during pre-puberty or puberty, like regardless of the testosterone they produced when they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like those people will still grow up with like.
He was just talking about prenatal, not pubescent, prenatal.
Pretty inhibited body.
I don't understand how he is such a good listener that he can have legit debates on stream while he's playing video games. Yet he's having an in-face conversation and he's not listening.
Eye problems, knee problems.
Sure, and high voices and all that that are like more feminine and presentation.
Was Michael Jackson castrated?
No.
That's what they claim. That's a conspiracy
I've
theory.
heard that. I don't know.
Let's take some callers. Let's jump to callers.
Jesus.
Let's get some callers.
If I remember on Tuesday or Thursday when I'm not actually, when I'm not doing my show, I want to get in there so bad. I want to get in there so bad, have my name on screen, be like, I'm here, resurrecting, all that stuff. It'll blow up.
On the line, who do we got?
On. We have no real order today, but I guess I have to see what's going on because the names are a little different now.
Uh-oh.
Makey Tech. I'm assuming it's Makey Tech.
Oh, Dan Jensen coming in again, knocking himself out of the sponsor spot. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Of course, every super chat comes with a treat for Morty. Wake on up, buddy. We got one for you. Yay. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you. Let me update this. Where am I? Okay.
Tech, you're with us right now.
What up?
Howdy. How's it going, y'all?
Pretty good.
It's an honor to pose this question to you. I'll try to keep it concise.
Right on.
Please do.
He doesn't keep it concise.
I'm a 25-year-old engineer looking to have a meaningful impact. I've got some experience in industry and I'm striking out on my own ventures. In light of the heinous tragedy Monday and to the Nash direction and
oh, Dan's leaving us. Thank you so much for sponsoring the stream, and thank you for being here. And I love you, brother. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic night, morning, day, and I can't wait to see you again. Everybody, please put Dan in the chat. Thank you so much. So Holly says these conditions do not and should not be treated with gender affirming care. Okay, glad we agree there. They're their own conditions and have their own treatments. If someone who is aware they have this condition and want gender affirming care on top of treatment with this condition, that is another thing entirely. Very well said. Completely agree with you.
Trump indictment within 48 hours. Ooh. Conditions are getting hot. And it sure feels like this may be our bloody Kansas, drink, Civil War and all. I think we all need a purpose that can stand up to the strife in this world.
Continue.
Chickens?
Continue.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
No, it's I'm remixing on Peterson when I say we need a purpose that can stand up to the strife in this world. When he's talking about Tolstoy, but like I struggle to find any purpose that can withstand the tyranny of man. You know, Putin invading Ukraine, the influentials, Democrats, and everything, deep state influence in other people. In light of all this, like, what do you think could make a purpose that could stand up, that would give the statement, in my mind, endure for hope ground?
Family.
And would you agree?
Yeah. Endure for hope. And how do you do that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Family.
Family's an easy one. People often use faith, but not everybody has it. So
you go for it. I know one. I have one particularly. We've been speaking out about the Restrict Act, and I was
Before he goes there, to B, he says, I think it would explain, talking about the chromosomal testing, I think it would explain why some people may feel the need to transition if their body parts don't match their feelings. But since they don't regularly test for it, how do we rule out genetic abnormality? Very, very insightful. You won me over. Yeah. Mandatory chromosomal testing for all children as they are born. I definitely, yeah, you won me over. That makes a lot of sense.
hopeless. I was like, this is it. This is
But-
it.
but-
If this thing gets passed, that's it.
but
But we
you're-
spoke
you're-
up, and now it's getting shut down. Lindsey Graham went out. Did you guys see him yesterday on Jesse Waters? And he was like, I don't agree with the Restrict
your
Act.
name's
He's
on
like,
it.
you just signed on
Right,
to
but
it 2
it
days
is.
ago. He's
So
like, okay, I don't then.
what you're saying, your purpose is politics.
Maybe enlightening people, that kind of thing. Being part of a community and bringing
Sounds like a leftist.
truth to light.
I would say that this is a statement to live by. Okay, you cannot change the world, but you can change your world. It is very fruitless as an individual to obsess over even statewide, but especially national and especially international politics.
Look at the chat and look how many people are saying God. Look how many people who need to hear this answer, or think about how many people who need to hear this answer and hear something other than just be religious, be God, do this, go, Jesus is the answer. Just look at the chat and see how many people. Well, actually, let me take this down for now, because I want you guys to see this.
Almost every single person that obsesses over these things will tell you that it has made their life worse. Find things in your life that make you happy. Find things in your life that give you purpose. Tim brought up faith. Tim brought up family. These are things you can invest time into. If you want to make a small but meaningful contribution to the world, find ways locally to do it. I promise you that you will have more fulfillment in your life volunteering once a month at a soup kitchen than you will donating $5,000 a month to some African charity for malaria that you never see the people of.
Okay, well, they're not saying it anymore, but they were saying it a lot. So let's get to some of these comments real quick. So Harley agrees with 2B. I do agree we should do more testing for these conditions. They're more common than people realize, and it is possible that people having gender dysphoria could have one of these conditions. Again, completely agree.
The important thing, I think, is with that in mind, the little actions you take locally have the bigger impact around the world. It's always at the grassroots level. So if you go out and have a family and get some chickens and get out of the cities, in 10 years, all those kids will grow up and that positive influence will have a bigger impact on the world than donating money to one of these charities.
What do you think about gaming as a purpose? Like just the competition, self-competition and success, overcoming the challenge. Do you think that that's actually a distraction from real journey, or is that a good sort of
gaming is like drugs or anything else, like fun in moderation. Just don't obsess over it and let it destroy your life. If you want to be competitive through gaming because that's something that's fun for you, that's fine. But like you need to do the ordinary mental checks. Like, are you failing to take showers? Are you failing to hold down a job? Are you failing to maintain relationships? If gaming is getting in the way of that, then like any other thing in your life, whether it's drugs or watching TV or whatever, then you have to find a way to cut back on it.
Yeah, I had a friend who would drink like all day, every day. And people were like, bro, you're an alcoholic. And he was like, no, alcoholism is when drinking alcohol interferes with your daily life, but drinking alcohol is my life. And we were like, right on. And so we just let him keep going.
There you go.
I'm kidding.
Or Hunter Biden.
That is a joke. Alcoholism, functional alcoholism and addiction is a real thing. Just so if anybody was confused.
And did a lot of crack, but it seems like he was making a lot of money, going around, working a lot of jobs, doing a lot of things. Didn't seem like it was a big problem for him. So, more power to him.
All right, we should move on. Maggie, thanks for calling in. Is there anything else you want to elaborate on before we jump?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys coming in. I agree, Jordan Peterson, clean your room. I just want to shout out the Discord and where we're building culture.
Right on,
making
man.
a lot of fun stuff, guns chat, relationships, and the book nook.
Sweet.
We got a book club we're starting. So
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
go.
I will say, I don't know if the three of you have ever heard anything different, but any real life friend I've ever heard that says they stopped looking at news, I've never heard somebody say, I stopped following like international stuff on Twitter and I feel so bad for doing that. Like everybody's always said is they feel way better once they stop following certain shit, that they feel way better about it for not obsessing over.
It's true, but then I have people who go like, wait, what the fuck's going on? Or like, there was a guy last weekend who was like, what the fuck happened to my kid's high school basketball team? Like, my daughter's got some dude on her team now. I'm like, well, you're not paying attention.
Sure. Well, I mean, like your local stuff is important. Pay attention to that. That's the stuff that matters. One person can set up a whole development if you go to your city council meetings for like your local level is so important. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, let's jump to the next caller. Who do we got?
Mr. Elias the Great. I imagine that's your name.
Let's get it.
Hi there, it's Elias. Nice to meet you all. I'm a
Okay.
long-time listener, first-time caller, right? So
Great, man.
I'll start out with my question. It's for Destiny. I want to know what you think about arming teachers and if you think they should be armed. And I'll give you a little context.
While he goes on that, I want to start a poll. I think I know what you guys are going to say. But I just want to know what you think.
Why I have this question.
Hit that poll.
I live in upstate New York, 4 or 5 hours from the city. I have 2 children. They're both in elementary school. I am a teacher in an inner city high school. So as you know, there's been dozens of districts across seemingly dozens of states with recent trends of shooting threats being called in. Today, a threat was called to the school where I work and also to the school that my children attend. After following the lockdown protocol and calming my students down, I asked them, would they feel more comfortable if Mr. Crossland, I'm using that name as an alias, had a piece or a gun to possibly defend themselves. We had a great conversation in the room, and I've thought about this a lot after the Nashville shooting. I think I would be compelled to take action with or without a gun, and because I really pray that there's someone at my kid's school that would do the same. So with the potential for a gun in classrooms with a well-trained armed teacher, serving both as deterrence, which makes sense and it seems to be proving helpful, but possibility of teachers having a fighting chance. I have to ask you, Destiny, do you support arming teachers or does your worldview dictate that I have to basically hide in my room and wait until the slaughter subsides and that the teachers at my kids' school should be told to do the same?
Man, I like the not loading that question in one direction.
And we got a 50-50 on the poll. Interesting. So I think that is where I want the panel discussion to start when we head over to Discord.
Very intellectually honest way to do it. When I think of things of school, I always think of it through the perspective of my child. So I have a 12-year-old son. So here are the 2 ways that I think of it, and I don't know if I have a good answer for you. If my child was in school and there was a shooting event that happened, and I find out that my child is locked in a room that the shooter eventually gains access to, and the teacher or the children can't do anything but stand there and die, and then somebody was asking me, would you have liked it if the teacher had a gun? As a parent, I'm thinking, yeah, fuck it. It's my teacher, my kid's teacher. I trust him to watch my child throughout the entire day. Why the fuck wouldn't I trust the teacher to have a gun to protect the kid as long as they have the proper training for it? But on the other end, I also think of, what if I get a call? And this is something that I learned as a parent. Getting calls from your child's mother or getting calls from the school is always the most stressful thing in the world. As soon as you see it on your caller, you're like, holy fuck, my kid's dead. Why is the school calling me? It's always like really stressful. But like if I get a call from the school and they told me that your child was in a classroom, the teacher was out of a classroom, and another child gained access to the teacher's firearm at the desk and accidentally shot him and he's dead, then in my mind, I'd be thinking, why the fuck do we have 100 guns now in a school that any child can gain access to and shoot and kill another student?
That's why the teacher has to keep it on them at all times.
So I don't know at the end of the day where I'd fall under it. I feel like I'm a big gun guy. I like guns. I super support the right to self-defense. I feel like there's a world where I would be okay with teachers having firearms, but it has to come with mandatory training, and it has to come with mandatory safety in terms of storage. So that means that if you're a teacher, you either have that firearm on you at all times in a holster, or you have it locked behind so many fucking locks that, like, if a school shooting happens, you're locking the door, you're deadbolting it, and then you're going through the combinations to get the gun out of that fucking safe.
No, because the amount of time that we're talking about is, I mean, I get it. I get the. I'm gonna let it play. I don't know. But yeah, that if that's a real stat about the self deletions, that's crazy. Yeah. But this idea about, being able, because if the teacher's able to lock the doors to a level that like it just can't be kicked down. Like, I mean, any time you can get guns and shoot through a door or some shit. But I'm trying to think about how I feel about the gun locker versus you have to have it on you at all times. Because No Freedoms was talking about what did he say? That I knew about 3 teachers that would have gotten rid of our asses for being bad. Now, I think I don't anticipate seeing a lot of that if we were to allow teachers to handle guns. I just don't. I just don't see that being super prevalent. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. It would make it more likely, though, if they did have the gun on them and somebody was able to wrestle it away from them. And we have seen a lot of students fighting teachers. On the other hand, though, I would expect a lot less students willing to fight their teacher if they know they're strapped. So it's a tough thing.
I think that would be my position on it.
I think it would just no. It has to be on the teacher. Like if it is going to be in the teacher's position, it has to be holstered, like with like a safety holster or whatever, like on their person at all times.
Mm-hmm. What do you do if because we've seen some videos come out where like students get in fights with teachers. That's a scary thing where it's like now that fight is almost always going to be somebody's dying, which is another scary thing.
Yeah, but that's like the problem there is that's the argument in any circumstance anywhere ever, right? You have like a shoplifter fights a clerk and gets shot and the family goes, well, he didn't have to kill him. And it's like,
yeah, but the difference here, there's a difference because like for 8 hours of the day, I'm saying that my kid's life is in somebody else's hands. You're feeding him, you're watching him, you're caring for him. That's somebody else that's dealing with my child for 8 hours a day. They go to that school. And when firearms become involved, that's an awesome responsibility. And at the end of the day, it would just be a numbers game.
We used to have shooting clubs.
Yeah, and that, I think that there's a part of gun culture we don't talk about in America. Like we never teach people to use guns. And like I could imagine there being like a rural community where kids are shooting and stuff, where every kid is given like a 22 when they're like 6 years old. And
they do in
learn to
Alaska
shoot or whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Hollis says, I would say if we do that, we need regular stress evaluation for teachers too. Absolutely. The restrictions on what it would mean, that would change what it means to be a teacher entirely. Because now you're put in the situation of if somebody comes into the school, now you're not just worried about teaching the kids and protecting them from, like fighting each other. Now that the level is way higher, as Tim or as Destiny was just saying. But as Tim made the point, that's any situation with guns.
And in those cases, like fuck, like have guns around. Like everybody knows that they're responsible. But fuck, dude, it's kind of like what you said about like.
So how do we get to the point where everybody has guns and is trained with guns and feels comfortable around guns if everybody's trying to ban guns all the time?
Some of the trans stuff where it only takes a few cases to fuck shit up. Like I can only imagine a few cases where a student gets in a fight with a teacher, grabs the gun and kills a teacher, another student, or a teacher leaves a gun on a desk, or a student gains access to it. It's like, oh my God.
This is a good point though, because one thing to consider is that there will likely be a circumstance where you get a bad school, you get a bad kid, he beats the crap out of the teacher, takes the gun and uses the gun for the school shooting.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, the school shooting was caused by the gun given
or
to the teacher.
the student just fucking steps up to the teacher and the teacher puts his hand on the gun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like instantly escalatory, right? Like if we get into a fight at a bar, if somebody has a gun on them, that fight is maybe going to the death, right? Where as opposed to just people beating the shit out of each other. And then also on top of this too, and I get a lot of heat for this, but like school shootings aren't really that big of a deal. Like,
wow, that's a bold statement. Oh, I'm going to come back to this, Harley.
it is maybe going to the death, right? Where as opposed to just people beating the shit out of each other. And then also on top of this too, and I get a lot of heat for this, but like school shootings aren't really that big of a deal. Like they happen, they're tragic and it's horrible, but it's a very, very, very rare event. There's like 52 other things more likely to kill my kid than like a school shooter. Sure.
He ain't wrong. I'm trying to think, how much does that change the conversation? Because I mean, you know, it's a good point. It is a solid point. So Harley says, before we get into that point, though, we can do a lot more to prevent intruders from getting into schools in the first place. I mean, that is just obvious. I don't understand how more of the conversation isn't around that. And yeah, I wish that was more about the more of the conversation. Not, I mean, I get that the issue is that, of course, we want to prevent these things, but the idea is that, you know, just like No Freedoms is saying, with if the teachers are carrying, you know, you're with the, especially if we're saying, you need to have concealed carry. You're going to tell me in all the schools, in all the classrooms of all the teachers, there's not going to be one teacher that either does the kind of thing that Ian was just saying, where, you know, things get escalated and they put their hand back and now things are getting escalated, or the teacher is somewhat irresponsible and allows the gun to be found by the students. That is not going to be a non-zero number. That is going to be more than zero. I don't know what I don't know what this question is. No, who said it's okay? What are you talking about?
Sure.
Choking on one.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. I was gonna say, if you have a peanut allergy, you probably need to die. Okay, get these genes out of the pool, right? No, but like, yeah. So like, if we're talking about putting guns, loading up guns,
you see how much more liberals can get away with
in every single school to stop the ultra rare black swan like school shooting event. I don't know, man. Like that's, yeah, I'm sorry. That's
really probably the best answer, in my opinion, that the whenever a school shooting happens, the media hyper focuses on it because it generates press and attention. Then they run that clip where it's like, it only happens here. And it's just like, we have 100, I don't know how many schools there are, 190 something thousand.
Yeah, that's
and it's like, it's tragic when it does happen. But do we take the approach of overhauling the entire system because of, like you said, a black swan event? Or
here, you know what? I'm a man of compromise. Here's what I would say. If you've got a concealed carries weapons permit and you're a teacher, if you want to conceal carry to school, that should be your choice too, if you want to.
I think that's a simple answer. Or just like an armed security guard.
Can I make a quick comment here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the deterrence is very important. And an idea that I was thinking in my head is at least we could maybe put a gun safe mounted to the wall. Whether or not every safe in the building has a gun in it, you know, that's up to the district. But even if it was 1 out of 10, and then the shooter would have to decide and contemplate, like, am I going to go to the 1 in 10 room, like some sort of deterrence, or have a secret way to have like some guns they sign up in private with, like, confidentially, you know? So, yeah, go on.
No, I think I figured it out. I think every school should have, you know, above every door, an auto defense turret that activates when the shooter alarm happens. And if you're not hiding under your desk, you're roaming around those halls, those turrets just go, and then boom, done.
I like the idea of a gun safe. I love it. I love that, and I like the idea of gun safes as deterrence too. Because you don't need to know which teacher has a gun.
Right?
Yeah, but
I'm with Harley here. This is a cop out. Like, there is, if we can find money for Ukraine, we can find money for saving children.
full, like anything, you know, like, I mean, I've thought about it deeply, and the discussion with my students today was amazing. You know, it was very heightened emotional. There's rumor texts floating around. It was wild. Thankfully, I listened to the show. So the first thing out of my mouth was, listen, guys, you know, this happened yesterday to dozens and dozens of schools. I guarantee you this is just a robocall, relax. So I felt great leaving the room saying, who is right? But
wow.
Yeah. So
I think we don't. I don't think we need to overthink it. I think Destiny's right. Concealed carry permit, but the problem is with it's federal law banning guns in schools or whatever. So people should have a right to concealed carry.
We had a police officer who works in the school district, carries all day long. He came to an open house to meet the teachers, and they wouldn't let him into the building holding his firearm. So
wow.
The way it works is he's technically legally allowed to from the state because he's a police officer, and there was a big battle at the metal detectors. So again, inner city school, we got a lot of problems. You might have seen our knifing video. Well, I don't want to give away my where I work, but yeah,
almost doxed himself.
There's some crazy stuff out there.
I also think another issue that I think could come up, and these are all kind of like lame peripheral issues. I understand that, but like, does this create a strange expectation on teachers to act? Like,
yeah,
like let's say for instance,
this is exactly what I was saying. That it changes the nature of what it means to be a teacher. That your job is not only to educate, but now, in case of anything, it's now your job to protect those children. And while I would hope that there's teachers like Mr. Elia or Mr. Crossland on the call here who would be willing to do that, but you certainly can't require that. Can you? I don't think that. I mean, certainly not without a pay raise.
Since let's say you've got like Mr. Doug is in the other room or Mr. Johnson is in the other room, and there's like a shooter in the next room. Have we now created the expectation like, well, that teacher with the CCW, that concealed carry weapons, right? He needs to like go to the hallway and run and chase down the shooter.
Our society would be better if that was the case, because I would pray that someone would do that in my school. And the way it stands right now, I very well might just absorb some bullets and slow them down, because I pray that they would do that for my kids, and we need that to deter these people.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I have that bravery in me. I don't know. I mean, like I think if I were in a situation where I was the only one who could do something, I would want to spring into action, but I'm not. I don't know. Some people are just built different, and that's never been. I've never been a tough guy. I've never been very. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I would have to be in that situation before I know I would act. But and anybody could say that they would, but like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Add a gun to this situation and see how much that changes.
Well, if conservatives want to do that, I'll back them up as long as they vote for property tax increases to pay the teachers a little bit more, because you should be compensated.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought too.
Yeah, pay them more.
All right,
walking bullet shields. Yeah, fuck.
We should jump to the next caller.
Thanks very much, Elias.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Cheers.
final caller.
We got Sergeant Taco.
Oh, Sergeant Taco. Huh?
Yeah.
Sergeant Taco.
What's up? You're with us.
I was breaking up.
Hi.
Sergeant Taco.
Uh-oh. Not anymore. We can't.
Breaking up a little
Do that
bit.
again. You just broke up.
No, he's fine. We're talking to GPT-4 right now. This is the...
Well, it's a wireless headset, so I hope it's not going to cost him.
Yeah,
triple vetted. You said how many times did they vet
An episode of The Simpsons. Yeah, you were breaking up again.
Tim
clears up.
Yeah, I was looking for new employees.
If you can actually get rid of the headset, is that possible? Are you able to just speak through the phone?
No freedoms. Come on, dude. That's twice. I'm asking you nicely to please be respectful.
Or through?
No, I'm not on a phone.
Oh, you're on a computer. Okay.
We'll give it a go, and if we can't understand you, we'll do our best.
Okay, cool. I apologize for the problem, but either way, so my question is that I got a framework around the borders issues. So I heard you guys talking on earlier about how you wouldn't support Taiwan if they were invaded, but you support the Ukraine border and their sovereignty. I haven't heard your opinion about our southern border, which is always going to be coming up in that topic.
So real quick, just part of what was not in the clips, they were talking about Destiny obviously was in favor of the what we're doing in Ukraine. And Tim asked, well, what about, Taiwan? And I think Destiny gave a fair but kind of a cop-out answer, and he's like, well, I did like two weeks of research on the history of Ukraine, so I would definitely have to read up on Taiwanese history before I give you an answer on that. But that's what he's referencing.
But how do you rectify that type of idea when economically Taiwan is drastically more important than Ukraine will ever be when it comes to the economy of not just America, but the world?
For me, I don't have a strong opinion on Taiwan because I don't know the history well enough. I'll say a lot of stupid shit if I start giving strong opinions about a country whose relationship with China I don't have a really thorough understanding of. I did like 2 weeks of research to have an understanding of Ukraine and Russia before I had strong opinions about that. I'm not going to just start saying dumb shit about Taiwan that I don't understand well enough.
I'm fairly anti-intervention as it is. And so I understand the challenge of a unipolar versus multipolar world. But in order for me to want intervention to defend Taiwan or Ukraine, the government needs to justify it to the American people, which they have not done in any capacity.
Through Congress,
I agree. And one of the things I would say about it too would be that Taiwan, while it's more deserving of our help if they were activated, I still think that anti-intervention will be paramount in this scenario, just because we don't want to get involved in every single spat in the world. And plus, even if they did get invaded, it would push us to actually start more conductor fabrication here in the United States.
Yeah,
well, that seems to be the case. We're doing, what is it, the CHIP Act or whatever?
We definitely need a materials revolution. You can make superconductors out of graphene too, FYI. Stephen, what do you think about the southern border and military action on the southern border?
What military action?
Like a defensive military action.
Don't we have like the border patrol?
So let me ask you a question.
Ian.
The reason you oppose the true and correct approach of the big, beautiful border wall from sea to shining sea, because you're evil or stupid? I'm kidding.
Good one.
No, what do you think about like southern border?
I don't know. We have.
I have no problem with border security. I think border security is fine. If there's issues with it, we should always shore up our security. I think our immigration process in the United States fucking sucks, though. Yeah. And I wish we would do comprehensive immigration reform. But that's just, we just don't care about it right now. There's other stuff going on. So the attention the American people have for immigration and border related stuff is like almost non-existent.
Like running drugs across the border and stuff. Do you think?
I like drugs.
I like drugs.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not a good person to ask about that. I like drugs.
See what I mean? Like, good cop out. That was a good cop out, because now he doesn't have to give the answer to the question. I like drugs too, but I don't want the cartel doing its thing. I would rather us have private companies that legally test all of whatever, and you can buy whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I mean, do they call you far right for a bunch of these positions?
It just, I get called a Nazi depending on who.
Yeah,
there was a
transphobe.
Same.
Yeah, it just depends on what's going on. But I mean, like, border security is important. But I mean, like, again, like when your rhetoric is like Mexicans are rapists, blah 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 blah. Like when your rhetoric comes off a certain way, like people.
Somebody in the chat here said Taiwan won't launder money for Democrats. That's funny.
People aren't going to want you to be in charge of border security because it doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of like compassion or care or respect for Americans. It feels like very hateful. But I don't have like an opposition to border security. I think that's okay.
Well, to be fair, the Mexicans have also been raping, quote unquote, our social programs here in America just by being here, though.
I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah.
That absolutely is true. If you are here consuming resources and not paying into the system the same way everybody else is, even though we all hate taxation, that's the way it works. So if I got to pay taxes for shit that I'm not using, then you got to pay taxes for shit you are using.
They cost America a lot of money every single year with just schooling and through the medical facilities.
Well, for schooling, schools are paid through via property taxes. So even an illegal immigrant is going to be paying those taxes. For things like Social Security,
well,
you got to what?
They're not paying taxes.
Only if they own.
How are they not?
If they can't own property.
If they rent property, you're paying taxes.
So there, I mean, that's a complicated question, but
no, it's not. It's very simple. If I own an apartment and I rent it to you and I have to pay tax on the property, I'm paying that with the rents that I'm getting from the people that are renting it. So if you're an illegal immigrant, like, you're paying a sales tax when you buy things. If you're renting a piece of property, ostensibly, your rent is going to somebody that's paying property taxes. Like, the taxes are getting paid.
He's right about that. Tim tried to jump in, but fact is, those income or not income, sales tax and property taxes, if you live somewhere, then yes, those are going in. But that's not all the taxes we pay. I would love to abolish all taxes, but that's not the world we live in.
So you think that I would probably be more inclined to believe that many of the illegal immigrants are living in, more slum-like conditions,
Potentially.
and not properly documented rental conditions with proper taxes being paid.
Potentially. My guess would be that even illegal immigrants are probably close to a wash or a slight net gain when it comes to fiscal stuff in the United States, just because they tend to be young. When we look at like where all of the money goes in our system, it is dramatically overspending on old people, especially because they have a propensity to consume so much healthcare.
Fucking old people.
That'd be my guess. But
but they're Americans.
Younger people are generally working. Oftentimes, if they've got like stolen social security numbers, they're paying taxes into social security. They're not getting any of that back. If they're working under the table, obviously that's not good. They're not paying tax on that money. But I don't know if it is the case. A lot of my
I was kidding, old people. That was a joke.
I'm not. Fuck them. I mean, like the Cato Institute is obviously a libertarian think tank, so maybe you don't take any of what they say factually. But like, I don't think that illegal immigrants consume a ton of like our fiscal resources. I don't think that's the case. But
I don't have the numbers in front of me. Can't remember how much exactly it's going to be, but there are a lot of figures out there that show how much
I call them out. Cope.
They are draining our social programs, not just with the school, but like also Medicare and Medicaid. Those are paid for through the hospital when you go there, and they're not allowed to deny you care if you need something done. So like if you're working a manual labor job, like unfortunately a lot of them have to do, and you hurt yourself on the job, like get a huge gash, they are obligated to give you medical services before even asking you about your insurance information. And then when they find out, oh, hey, I don't have anything on me, I don't even speak your language, they're still going to help you. And how do you think that gets paid?
Government pays it.
Yeah, but my question is going to be like, one, how many illegal immigrants are hurting themselves? But then also two, how many Americans hurt themselves and can't pay for it?
It doesn't matter in the context of this conversation because they are Americans.
And I don't think we should pay for all of those things either.
Well, we can't just let our people die.
That's why we have insurance.
And I mean, insurance is shit, but we aren't letting our people die. We can let their people die. And I didn't put it like that. He did. I'm just saying it's not about Americans. There's a very big difference in how I feel about paying for other people's lifestyles if they are my countrymen versus if you're just some random person. Maybe that's biased or whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's not good, but it is what it is.
But what if they don't have insurance?
No, I think the insurance system is fucked.
It depends.
I agree. It is now.
Well, and even regardless, this is America. We shouldn't have citizens dying in hospitals. It's not good.
What do you think about
They're not
like
citizens.
socialized healthcare in general?
I don't like social. I like public option. I think that's fine. I think strong public option is good with private insurance being available. A lot of European systems, multi-payer systems, I think it's okay.
So my idea is always universal basic with supplemental private, meaning if you break your arm, you go to the doctor. That's the basic stuff we cover. If you get like advanced lymphoma or something, you're going to need private supplemental for that extensive treatment. You know what I mean?
I get behind that too.
Yeah, because I'm not laissez-faire libertarian capitalist or anything like that. I think, Mike Cernovich even said this. We can't have people sick and dying in the streets. Like,
it's not good for anybody.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing. Like
there is a level of responsibility that comes on the individual though, and we can't have people eating themselves into 800 pounds every single day here in America and then be expected to pay for it. So like there's two sides to the argument there.
No, you're absolutely
I
right.
agree, but also like again, I'm doing this a lot. I don't mean to do this as a parent. You are who you hang around. Right? Like we wouldn't send our kids to go hang out with a bunch of crackheads and say like, well, you can hang out with them, have fun, but just don't smoke any crack. We would say, don't go there. You wouldn't set somebody up for failure like that. I feel like Americans are set up for failure when it comes to health. We talk about like obesity, sedentary lifestyles, tons of sugar everywhere, tons of carbs everywhere. Like, of course, everybody's going to get fat as fuck, right?
So here's my solution. Universal basic healthcare, unless you're over a certain BMI.
And dismantle the FDA.
So BMI isn't the right way to do it because athletes will be over a certain BMI if you have muscle mass. But I think it's like you get a physical, and you should get a warning. Hey, you are now in the red zone, and this is costing more money, which means you are going to pay a penalty into the program to accommodate your excess use of medical care.
Why not? Let's just tax sugar, strengthen the FDA, make more regular.
More taxes? More taxes?
Michelle Obama wanted to.
Tax sugars? Fuck it. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, Bloomberg, when are we going to start taxing large sodas next?
Yeah, syntax.
She came in with the Let's Move campaign, and then the sugar industry was like, let's turn this into an exercise campaign.
Hey, we're way over time, so we either got to try to get Sergeant Taco back
Great
in or
questions, dude.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, yeah, no problem. Hey, one last thing, Tim, from one World of Warcraft rogue to another, it was nice.
I don't give a shit about World of crowd. So yeah, I mean that was Destiny's showing. I think in the after show he was a little bit more relaxed. I think maybe, as silly as it sounds, him trying to watch his language, it seemed to mess him up, because a number of times he did curse, and then like I don't want to make excuses for him, but as somebody who again watches him pretty regularly, he didn't do very well. So the question then is why? Why is it that somebody who is revered as the best in their space, can come over to a different space and do this? What does that mean for all of the people that Destiny debates and just demolishes in those debates when he's talking about, or talking to another lefty? To me, it means that this is the best they have to offer. Now, I'm willing to grant that there's definitely people who have better positions on the left than Destiny, but they're not out there. So I don't know of them. So it's like, I don't know how you can watch that. And even if you hate Tim Pool, how you can think that Destiny's politics are better. I don't see that if you're watching, and you don't have to choose. Like I said, I'm a fan of both, but obviously a much bigger fan of Tim. I don't understand how you could prefer Destiny based on that conversation. The only way that you would is if you had already had a bias towards him. So let's do this. Before we head over to Discord, give me a from 1 to 10, obviously 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. How do you think, or how well do you think that Destiny represented the positions of the average liberal? 1 through 10. Well, I gotta get the. Harley. Come on, answer my question, motherfuckers. 1 to 10. Replay gang, I know you've already dipped out by now because nobody's answering. So maybe I'll do the same. I want to thank you so much for being here with me. You guys know how much I love hanging out with you. All right. So we got a 5. Hold on, let me bring it up and we'll try that again. So No Freedom says 5. 1 to 10 on how well did Destiny represent the positions of the average liberal? Not the average leftist, not the average online liberal, just out in the in America, the average person who identifies as a liberal. How well do you think he represented what they think on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best? We got a 5 from No Freedoms, which I think is fair. I would say, well, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Because it certainly wasn't, out there in terms of, oh, liberals don't think this. There was definitely a lot that was like, yeah, liberals definitely think that. Holly says a 4. Can we get one more rating? One more rating on how well did Destiny represent the liberals, the average liberal, on this panel? So when you say, so you guys are, kind of middle of the road. Is that saying that, so does that mean that his positions are better than the average liberal, according to you, or closer to your politics than the average liberal? Or, what, like, I'm just gonna, we're just gonna move us to Discord because I have more questions on this. So please come and join us over at Discord. It is free to join, and again, we are doing an April contest. We're doing you get points for different things like inviting new members, sharing videos, winning games, all this kind of stuff. I'm gonna get all the rules up by the morning. and we're going to talk about it tonight. Make sure we got something, everything that something that you guys can win aside from a t-shirt and a shout out. I want to put something else there. I just don't really know what. So come and let me know what you would like to win, and come on over. We are headed to Discord. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really, really do appreciate every single second that you spend here. And especially a big shout out to Harley and to Dan for donating to the stream. You guys know this is what I'm trying to do with my life. And for right now, I have to maintain my other job. But as soon as I can quit that, I can go 100% into this, do better. I can do more content and better content. I will have more time to do research and not just basic reactions. We've started elevating to different type of stuff, but we've only just begun, guys. So hop on board, head over to Discord. Can't wait to see you. Thank you so much. Once again, I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.